Wait, okay.
Couldn't do it.
First day on the job.
Oh, shit.
What? Wait, who's?
Who's counting?
I was gonna say Paul again. You cut us down for.
Oh,
Yes,
just
you,
one.
Polly.
It's not a lot of.
Wait.
I get to count 3 numbers. Holy shit!
Relax.
Sorry, chill out, brother.
What if during the thing I get up to go get a drink and
Relax. You don't need the drink, Polly. I promise.
We're
you.
already drunk as is.
It feels like.
We're high on life.
And
Okay,
I mean,
I'll
we're
just-
gonna probably get even more insane given
Okay,
the shit
I'll
we're gonna be
connect to
talking
the
about.
phone. Call, get on the call, go over to the store, come back, then connect to the laptop. Anyway,
Those are not numbers, damn it.
okay, 3, 2, 1.
Yo, what's up, guys? The insane. This is the insane game for you guys. Relax.
God damn it.
Why
Fuck
is
it.
so funny?
No, fuck it. Fuck
you
it. It's
fucked
fine.
it up.
Fuck it. It's fine. Yo, what's up, guys? It's Zen Game Freak here. We're high on life here at the Pokemon Podcast. I don't know what the fuck's going on tonight.
Tyrone passed the blunt.
Anywho,
Wait,
listen.
what?
Jesus.
Why are you the first
Anywho.
one to get it?
Oh my goodness. So anyways, the whole point of this video is that you're probably expecting movie 12 review. That's coming, just not this week. There's been a lot of Pokemon news and a lot of talk, and I said, you know what? This is probably about this, and it's the anniversary of the original games this week. So I said, why not? Let's record some Pokemon nostalgia talk. And ironically enough, someone commented to me today asking for this video. So here you go. We were already planning to do it. Now you get it. So to run through the list of people we have here, because there's a lot of them today. I'll start from my left to the end. We got our boy KG in here. How are you doing, sir?
Good, just busy playing, you know.
I know.
But I'll still be able to provide my commentary for this stuff.
Thank you. I appreciate you giving me your full attention.
What?
Oh, goodness.
TSS,
Damn it,
how are
we
you
lost
doing,
him already.
sir?
Oh, I'm doing fantastic. I'm getting ready for the fucking snow tomorrow, but I'll be all right.
What?
Oh, wait, it's snowing tomorrow?
Yes.
What?
Oh.
It's
Moving-
snowing? Shit.
Richie, how are you, sir?
I'm doing good. Just can't wait to upload my memories.
And Tyrone, how are you?
Hello, everybody. Tyrone the God 3 here. I am doing great.
He has like the most official one. I feel like.
Yeah, like, what
I feel
the hell,
like all the
Tyrone?
rest of you didn't get your shit together.
You're making
I
us feel inferior
swear,
for
And then-
because I
Get your
swear
shit
to my
what you mean?
opening. I swear to my
It
opening.
is. It's called dedication, folks. Learn how to do it. And hey, Polly, how are you?
I'm very good. How are you? And how is everybody tonight?
I'm ready to get interrupted
Apparently,
again.
we're all fucked up, and I didn't get the memo, and I'm the one who organized this shit. Jesus Christ!
This is why Fridays are fun.
No, but
Fridays are fun.
you act like this
No,
shit
it's
wouldn't
fine.
happen on the weekday anyway. We would just have less of a reason to do it on a weekday. So the general premise of this video is actually pretty simple. It's pretty much going to be a long ass nostalgia trip. So if you guys have your own memories, please put it in the comment section. But I'm saying this beforehand because it's going to be a long podcast, and I'll probably forget this by the end of it. Essentially, we're just going to talk about our own personal stories because everyone got into Pokemon differently, and because Pokemon had so many ways of getting into the medium, whether it was the games, it was the anime, it was the card games. Some people just got through just looking at the fucking merchandise on the store shelf. It's just everyone has their own little story. So we're going to talk about that today, and we're going to take ourselves back to our younger days, whether that's 5 or 6 or 8 or 13, whatever. Fine.
Right now.
So-
I got into Pokemon right now.
Yeah, for some reason, Gen 8 just came out, and
right.
I felt the need to put a Dedenne on my goddamn profile picture. I don't know
Right.
what's going on. It's weird. So let's just start off with the basic question: how did you get into Pokemon? I'm gonna start with TSS because I think the most interesting ones out of this group is probably gonna be TSS and Poly if I had to take a guess. So
Wow.
TSS, how did your fandom
Wow.
start? Why are you booing? What are you booing for, Richie? What's the problem?
But you can't put me on TSS's level.
It's nostalgia. I didn't know
Let's
there
all
was.
sit and listen to TSS's story time because this is going to be interesting.
Yeah, I'm curious. 'Cause I don't think I know part of it. I don't think I know the whole story. So I'm curious.
Okay, so it all started back in September 1998. It's like,
damn
you know, you go back to all,
Go
like,
get
all
the
way to
rocking chair,
beginning.
folks.
You go back to the very beginning. Actually, my brother got into the games first because as you know, Red and Blue came out the same day the first airing of the anime came out, which was 15. which was the Saint Anne, because they ran that as a preview episode before starting with episode 1 the following night, the following day. And I was kind of hesitant to get into Pokemon because I had always had the stigmata in life, and I still do to this very day, that anything my brother likes, I hate. And it took me about, I would
There's
say,
a lot of tension in your flashback.
well, yeah.
I'm sorry. Go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Please, I don't want to be.
His brother was Itachi.
Hitachi Super. Yeah, we're going to go back to fucking Morocco's Modern Life. Hitachi Mega, whatever the fuck it was, $25,000.
That's not even the reference
Okay.
I was going for.
Continue with the story.
Yeah, just keep going.
So about 2 weeks later, I just decided to say, okay, I'm just going to give this one a try because Pokemon was still in syndication at the time. I could not get into the games. I mean, I tried like Blue and Silver back in the day, and my brain could not handle that. But I liked the anime, so I watched the anime from pretty much all the time between like mid-September 1998 up until middle of October of 2000. I watched both movie 1 and movie 2 in the theaters.
Awesome.
You know the great Burger King promotions back then. That was awesome with the Mew card and the Pokeball things, the gold-plated Pokeball stuff. And I had a good time with Pokemon for a while, including the freaking going to Flushing, Queens, and finding the bootleg trading card game cards in the freaking plastic thing in the plastic baggies for like $2. That was fun with the fake holograms, first edition. Yeah, right. And then so after October 2000, I kind of dropped off of it a little bit, but I kind of was still aware because I remember sometime in 2001, during an afternoon airing of Pokemon, they actually accidentally aired. I didn't know that at the time. The language sounded really weird, and I was like, "What the hell is this?" And it was Pokemon Karaokemon, and it ended up being Nyas no Party. Nyas no Party. They played the Japanese version of the song instead of Meowth's Party. By accident, I don't know what the hell happened, but they played it because it sounded different. And then going back a few years later, I said, "Holy crap! This is the Japanese version." So that was it. I mean, I did watch like fragments of Johto in like 2002 and 2003, but it wasn't until September 8th, 2004, where I found out that there was a Japanese version because I got the internet like on a decent computer back in like February of 04. And then one day while I was on my computer, I said, I wonder what's Pokemon's like in Japanese. And then I found a subbing group called Excalibur or Excal. And I was big into IRC and Linux at the time. So I said, okay, I have an IRC client. I'm going to connect to Excal, and then eventually it ended up being like, meeting people like Sinane and the others, and we would eventually form PM.net. But first it was free Pokemon, and then I started watching the Japanese episodes raw from AG96, which was the Pelipper episode, the one before the Groudon and Kyogre episode.
Oh,
the
okay.
two-parter. So basically, I have been with the series ever since. I fell in love with it. The first episode I actually officially watched was a subversion of AG15, which is Benkyo Shimasu Pokemon Trainer School, or Study the Pokemon Trainer School, or known as God Rule the School in the U.S. So it was from there I fell in love with the Japanese version. I got back into it, and it made me motivated to be back into Pokemon, and I'm still here. And I didn't play my first full game until 2010. I didn't play the first game I ever played full was Platinum, and I still to this day haven't beaten the post game. I just got through the game.
Not missing much.
Yeah, so it's like I was freaking okay.
Not really.
So so let's put this into perspective. I was 10 years old when Pokemon came out. It wasn't until I was 22 when I completed my first Pokemon game. But I have to say that throughout these last almost 15 years, I've made a lot of friends, especially you guys. You're the best people. You're some of the best people I've ever worked with, and I thank you guys for being
Lie,
very,
man.
no, seriously, because I did podcasting back in like 05 to 07 for like Bulba Garden, and then I kind of dropped out because they kind of pulled the carpet underneath from me and they took away some of my creative control, and then they kind of tried to reboot it like 5 times. They kind of rebooted it. They tried to reboot it like 5 times without me, and they failed. So it tells you something. But after I met with John, KG, Tyrone, Richie, everybody here, and of course Terrell and Tyrone. I said you twice. Sorry,
No,
I got your
Polly?
names
Wow.
twice.
It's
I
Tyrone.
feel
It's
so-
Tyrone.
It feels so important.
It's Tyrone.
You are
Listen,
so
Alright.
important to me.
that's Tyrone the God too, right there. So where's the third one at?
Oh God.
We
I don't know.
speak
It's
of him.
Free, damn it.
I don't know. I don't know. I squared the second one, so it doesn't matter. It's
Swag.
So that explains where he's been.
It's swag
Yeah,
as
yeah.
fuck, yo. We're gonna cube him next.
no.
Go
We need to make Tyrone the God 5 factorial.
Oh,
Oh,
God.
goodness.
The
That's what we
lore,
need.
the lore
Go on.
never stops.
Of course, it goes like a fucking Toyota
It's
engine.
too early for me to get this emotional, TSS. Wrap it up, please.
But anyway, I'm really glad to be here. 15 years is a long fucking time in this fandom, and couldn't be more happier of where I am now, and the legacy that I put down. And even though I'm not a forums guy, that's why nobody's fucking heard of me until like 3 years ago, really. I've been, I collect mostly the anime stuff, music stuff. I have a lot of rare stuff if you go to my Twitter. So, got a lot of live action and rare VHS stuff. So, that's what I do. I collect Pokemon materials, anime and music, and I enjoy it. And after going to Japan a few times and really getting some of the exclusive stuff, it really solidifies that I love this franchise. So, that's it.
Damn. Okay.
All right.
So to move from that, since Polly was intimidated, and we don't want to do that.
Polly got snubbed, that's why.
You know what?
Yeah, exactly.
You know what, KG? Because I need to keep his ass engaged. Because we all know what's gonna happen if I leave him too quiet.
Oh,
God
yeah.
damn it! I was about to start another
I knew it.
match.
I fucking knew it. I had
God
to get
damn
you.
it, man!
I had to get
Yeah,
your
but now
head.
if he doesn't know,
Dragalia Lost has ripped you from us, and we need you back.
I know.
but if he doesn't know, he's
I'm gonna take your
leave.
fucking phone and throw it out the fucking window.
He's
Don't
gonna
worry,
drop
I work
off.
at a fucking electronics
Oh my
store. I can
goodness.
just replace that shit easily.
Yeah, but you have to wait until it opens again because nothing's fucking open.
Give your backstory, KG.
KG, what's your
Fine, hold on,
backstory?
let me just-
I
let me just put
love
this shit
busting
away.
everybody's chops.
I'm a
Okay.
I love how we automatically assume his is going to be more lackluster so that I don't feel as bad.
Oh no, it's not. But we gotta temper
Yeah,
that.
mine is very tame. So
TSS
Yeah,
is way
let me
too
just
damn
put my
emotional,
iPod
and that
real
was the
quick
problem.
away.
TSS
Yeah,
hit me a
No,
little
I
bit too hard
can't.
in the feels, and I wasn't ready for it. That's the problem.
I'm kidding. I mean, everybody has their own different.
I need time to recover. That's what this is.
Pass the champagne.
Not now, right?
We're not drinking, Richie.
We're not
I am.
we're
Fuck it.
Pokeholics
You're
Anonymous.
young
Welcome.
still, aren't you?
He's
No, I can drink.
yeah,
What do
he
you
can
mean?
drink.
Okay, well, you know.
I don't
some
think he
states
probably
work
should.
differently,
But that's a
so-
whole nother thing.
Yeah, that we'll save that for another day. Same
TSS,
password.
I mean,
Don't destroy your liver.
KG,
KG,
just
go
tell
for it.
the story.
All right, hold on. Just putting my phone to
I
charge. There we go.
knew.
I'm good now. Don't worry.
You
Okay,
could just
so
have to call it multi fucking task.
Dragon
That's what I was
Tales,
doing.
Dragon Tales.
Oh my goodness. That's a whole nother level of nostalgia.
I'm
Frank.
so
Dragon Tales,
proud of you,
motherfucker.
Natalie. I'm so proud of you for like.
Natalie,
Natalie.
Natalie.
Natalie, who is she?
I'm sorry. I'm typing
That
in.
is my friend.
Sorry, I'm typing in her name because I'm uploading a video at the same time I'm doing this. Polly, I'm proud of you for making a reference.
It's fine.
Natalie is who I'm typing in because I'm
Best
uploading.
Number
podcast
Jesus and
ever.
We're professionals, by the way.
I'm uploading.
No, we're not professionals. We're professional.
Oh my
I'm
god.
uploading a Yu-Gi-Oh.
And
I'm
that's
uploading-
my story,
Windows
guys.
2000
Yeah.
edition.
No, KG,
No,
tell the
no,
fucking
no.
story.
Back
I'm
to
up-
more.
Sorry,
No,
guys, I'm
tell the
uploading a
fucking
Yu-Gi-Oh
story,
video.
KG.
All right, everyone, shush.
All right, fine. Don't expect much from me compared to TSS anyway. So, for me, it all started on the day of my actual birth. Both of my parents failed to show up.
To your birth?
And
What?
How the fuck were you born?
My brain hurts.
KG Church to be confirmed. Anyway.
Your backstory angers me.
Think of the fucking story. Don't lie to
Okay,
us.
no, but okay. I just recall the memory I can recall from me encountering Pokemon for the first time was here in Brooklyn. Me and my mother went shopping at one of these blocks that just has variety of stores, whether it be like Gap or Foot Locker and whatnot. And we just encountered this one store that just seemed to be filled with video games. I'm talking about like those kind of like one store kind of things, not like a brand or anything. Just like called Tony Games or whatnot.
Like a mom and pop store.
Yeah, kind of something like that. And I just
Those
decided
stores
to
are
go
cool.
and walk into it because we're like, okay, you know, we have time to kill before the store opens. So let's go take a look inside and see what they have. And then I just go inside. I look around. I see a bunch of Game Boy games just roaming around, whether it be like Croc or other games like Mario Brothers Deluxe, which, by the way, that one was fantastic. And one of the things that caught my eyes around that time was this yellow box, obviously referring to the Pikachu edition of Pokemon that came out. Let me see. 1990.
1998.
No, because I didn't get it at the same year it came out. I probably got it like a year after.
So
So it's like
99.
1999.
Yeah,
Pikachu,
'cause I was, like,
Pikachu
around
edition
6 at
came
the
out
time.
in 99.
99. Yeah.
Yeah, so 1999 was when I got the game, and I was just like, hey, you know, why the hell not, right? I'll try the game out. I told my mother I wanted it. She was like, okay, sure, and she bought me the game, and I decided to give it a shot, and I just instantly became hooked. You know, and it wasn't until a few months later that I began learning of another network that a television network that actually showed Pokemon, the TV series, and that's also when I began getting myself invested into watching the show since the very beginning, back with episode 1 and onward. And since then, I've just been a big fan of Pokemon. Just growing up, it's been a part of my childhood, and I feel I was born in the right time to have been at the age that I was that would make me enjoy a series like this. You know what I mean? Because if I felt like if I was born any older, like let's say I was like 15 or something at that time, I felt like I wouldn't be able to connect with Pokemon as much as, you know, others out there, because it's obviously targeted for kids. And so I was just happy to be able to be born in that type of generation. And yeah, time passed on. I just began to continue becoming more and more invested in Pokemon, and not much more I can say. Here I am right now, 20 something years later, still a big fan of Pokemon. Hell, you know, we're obviously here to talk about it, so it just shows how much of an importance this series has touched our lives. And now I'm just excited for what the future has in store for all of us. So that's pretty much my take on it. Just my origins on how I got into Pokemon. There's nothing really special with that. Just a simple go into a store one day, find the game, thought it looked cool,
And
bought it.
This is
there
why
you go.
I asked for the stories, because everyone's different. Everyone had a different experience. Some people
Everyone's story.
Some people it's more emotional than others. Some people it was just a simple I saw it in the store. Miss Polly, you wanna tell your story? You wanna hear the origin?
That was beautiful. Well, yeah. Yeah, actually, yours kind of makes me nostalgic because, like, you know, my grandma lives in the same area, so like I used to go to those stores a lot too. But that's not how I discovered Pokemon. Okay, so the funny thing about me is that I actually didn't really get into Pokemon as a kid, mostly because I actually wasn't allowed to watch it. I went to a very, very strict Catholic school, and the school it was in the era. So Pokemon came out when I was about, I think, 3 years old. When was the, I guess, like in America, like
It was 98.
98.
So
September
I was
98.
Okay. So I remember little snippets here and there. I remember, like, the boys, like, one kid dressed as Charmander for Halloween running around the room. I remember seeing the opening on TV, even though technically I wasn't really allowed to watch it. The school was kind of just under the impression that, like, well, that Pokemon was kind of like cultish thing, and then
Yeah.
also like it was affiliated with like anime and manga, which they didn't allow manga in the schools, and they also banned Harry Potter too, amongst other things. So I kind of grew up like pretty sheltered from all of that, and like it frustrated me because I did find it like cute and interesting and fun. And then it didn't even make sense for me because we wound up getting a GameCube a few years later, 2001. When Melee came out, and obviously there were Pokemon featured in Melee, and we played that a lot. My brother and I. So I guess I never really. I feel like I kind of missed out on like the big like childhood like discovery of playing the games, watching the show all the time. I definitely remember it because I grew up during that era, but I didn't really get that opportunity. So years pass, and so I guess I just wasn't into it. It was just kind of like indifferent to Pokemon. Years pass, and my brother was watching Cartoon Network one night, and he sees that the Rise of Darkrai is premiering on TV, so he decides to watch it. He winds up really liking the movie, and
Oh boy.
he, wow, okay. I know we talked about this a little bit in the Darkrai review.
Yeah.
Anyway, um, he decides to ask my mom. Well, he decides just generally he gets a copy of Diamond, he plays it, and he winds up loving the game. And then he remembers that there was a whole entire series that came before that movie. So what he did was he hogged our family desktop before any of us had laptop. This was like I was like around 13 years old at this point, and he watched the entire series from beginning to end, starting with episode 1. And I was so annoyed because all I wanted to do was play Webkins and Club Penguin on our desktop computer, but no, my brother was watching annoying Pokemon with annoying Ash and annoying Team Rocket. So I used to actually, at that time, I kind of hated it because I just wanted to go on the computer. So eventually I got to the point where I was like, whatever, like, my mom she wasn't really, like, she just wouldn't be in the living room when we would like, argue and stuff. So eventually it got to the point where my sister and I would just sit down and watch with him. And he was kind of during the Johto series where I realized that, like, I kind of actually found the show funny. I found Brock really funny. I found Team Rocket really funny, especially James. Like, I got a kick out of him. And eventually I just watched it more and more, and sometimes even on my own, because I got really invested in the characters, especially Ash and Misty and Brock. And just, even though Diamond Pearl was going on at the time, I became really like emotionally invested, I guess, in the OS series because I didn't really know about the others yet. So fast forwarding, there's like I guess I like kind of I have to like compartmentalize. It's like different phases of like of my life when it comes to Pokemon. I really found the music like endearing, especially like the Japanese music. I guess it was because I discovered the whole like TSS was saying the karaoke mon. So of course like I was like, oh, Brock has a theme song. That's hilarious. So at first I downloaded all the 4Kids tracks, like the 2B and Master album. I'd listen to them all the time, dance around the room to them. I play them on piano, because I played piano by ear, so I actually always try to figure out the tunes.
Yeah.
And then kind of like TSS, I guess I just randomly stumbled upon, I think I actually was just wondering, I was like, hey, what was the alternative here for the original theme song? And then I found Ms. Dase Pokemon Master, and I think from there, I'm like, oh my gosh, there's an entire slew of Japanese openings as alternatives to these English ones. And then from there, I found the OST and all the CDs with the original music, and I just listened to them every single day, especially as I went to high school, because that year I graduated from 8th grade. I went to high school, and, it's always hard starting high school. So I guess just to keep me company, I would sit at home and do my homework, and I'd literally just listen to all the OST soundtracks. from beginning to end while I did my homework, and that was just really special um, to me, kind of like my downtime. And then I would try like figuring them out on piano, and I posted a few covers here and there. So I got really, really, really invested in the music, and that's like probably the biggest thing my biggest focus in the fandom so far. I also like was hugely into Team Rocket. I from there I it's kind of embarrassing. I got into like role play groups where I'd like role play different characters with other people. At the time, it was actually Facebook, where you make those fake Facebook accounts, and then you got into these communities where
wow.
everybody would like role play with each other. And then that sort of fell apart as Facebook sort of, left its like big phase, and then more and more people started gravitating to Tumblr. I know this is like the origin. I'm kind of rambling here, but
That's fine.
long story short, I wound up getting really into the fandom on Tumblr. That's where I met most of my friends, who I've actually like met up with multiple times now. There's been a lot of ups and downs, but you just got to remember the good times, and a lot of great funny posts came from there. A lot of great headcanons. Like I felt like I could really put my creativity to work because when it came to Tumblr, at that point, I started watching the other series: Best Wishes, Diamond Pearl, Advanced Generation, and then eventually X and Y. And I didn't even say anything about the games yet.
Well, I had a sneaking suspicion most of your history was going to be based around the anime, if anything.
Okay, well,
you're kind of like
games.
TSS in that way.
I am like TSS. We're actually.
Well, if I can interject for 2 seconds here,
Yeah.
It's not going to be
grew
2
up-
seconds, by the way, folks.
No, it is. I grew up in the era where Facebook didn't exist, so Facebook didn't come out till I was an adult. So you feel, I think people that are younger, like at least 7 years younger, they had an advantage of having social media. Back in the day, we only had IRC and forums. So I just wanted to let that.
Well,
Yeah, so.
I kind of was on that phase. I think Kevin is closest in age to me, where it's like we were on that cusp of like, it's like I grew up when I was born, there were still corded phones, and like people went outside, and I wasn't allowed to have a cell phone or even text until I was like in
Or those
14 or
brick
15.
phones.
Yeah. So I kind of feel like I got the best of both worlds. But anyway, in terms of the games, I was always really casual. I remember when I first got into the series, I do have a Game Boy brick. My dad, long story short, he did PR for electronics. So in the 90s, he wound up getting a Super Nintendo and a brick, and we kept that for years. So I really wanted Red. I actually never finished Red because I kind of lost interest. Obviously, we know it's not the most exciting because, it's the simplest game.
Yeah.
But then years later, I wound up getting, I think the first game I ever finished was Y. I really loved Y. Like, it has a special place in my heart. I know there's a lot of controversy about it, but and then Moon, and then now I have Let's Go Pikachu, and I'm maybe not as on par with other fans when it comes to the games, but I kind of like going on my own pace, and I like what I like, I guess, and music is definitely one of them, and of course the anime. So it's been a great, and actually I'm also celebrating 10 years because that was 2009 when I first got into the series. So this year is very special for me, and looking forward to all the memories to come.
Okay.
Nice.
I guess I'll go next, and then I'll let Tyrone and then Richie cap it off. My history's kind of weird because I got into the anime before I got into the games, ironically enough. Particularly because of my family situation. We didn't have a lot of money. The first console we had a Sega Genesis and a Nintendo, but that wasn't, my mom didn't buy those. People gave those to us. Like my first console was a Game Boy Color. That's the first thing I had. So I watched the anime from jump, and it wasn't even intentional. I think I was just, it's weird. So as a kid, I moved around a lot until I was like 14. So my friends, even though I had friends in school and everything, I didn't really interact much as a kid. So pretty much I was either messing around with my sister, who at the time would have been like, I'm trying to think, she would have been like 4. So it's not a lot you can do with your 4-year-old little sister. or I'm sitting in the house watching TV. And that's when Pokemon came on. And I watched it from the beginning. And I was just, and it was weird because I don't know. I guess that was the first thing I had saw that I got invested into. So like it never stopped for me. It's almost like that was like me at the top of the snow hill, and I was like a pebble, and then it just snowballed through the years. It wasn't, and then I think it wasn't until Gold and Silver came out that I got a Game Boy Color, and my mother had to kept buying AA batteries for like the next, I want to say 5 years, because I was a fucking madman. That was one of the only games I played, probably next to like Sonic. That was like the only franchise I played, and and the games hooked me just as much as the anime did. I kind of have breaks in the anime primarily because when we switched places and we didn't have money, we didn't have cable, so I missed out on like some parts of Johto. I think like the first half of Johto I missed. Then I got to watch the rest of it, and I had to go back and retroactively watch it. And I'm still playing the games, and it was just weird. It was just such a cool experience for me because I was just like, I think it was the monsters, but for me it was also the social interaction. It was like that was my way of like making friends with other kids because it was such a universal thing at the time. It was really easy to be like, oh, you like Pokemon, I like Pokemon. And that's how I would start friendships. And that's the way I was, because I was pretty shy and quiet as a child. So it was very awkward for me to like interact with people initially. So that was like my way of getting into conversation and integrating myself. I still think one of my favorite moments is when Ruby and Sapphire came out, because that was the first time I went through the experience of pre-ordering a game and like having to wait for it to come out. That's when I got that cool like reflective coin you got that had either Kyogre or Groudon in it, depending on which one you ordered. That was like a whole experience for me, and that's part of what I kind of owe Pokemon to. Pokemon to me is very special, particularly because it's ironic. It's always been with me, and it's also helped me a lot through my childhood, just either dealing with shit or getting me through things. The only real lull I had in Pokemon was probably during Diamond and Pearl, and that was just because I had issues with the anime at the time. I had issues with the games at the time. That's really been my only like truly dark era. And since I'm probably the closest to TSS in age. I didn't have I didn't do any real social media interaction with other fans until like, I want to say maybe went towards the end, maybe like early college, because of how little people like Pokemon stopped being an easy way to interact with people probably around like middle school going into high school. Because at that point it's like, oh, you're like 14, 15, you still play Pokemon, what's wrong with you? So it was rough, but I never really, and I thought I was weird for a while because I was like one of the few people who still like was actively invested. Like even when I got on YouTube, I was like at least to me, it felt like I was like the only one in my group of friends when we were watching anime who still followed the Pokemon anime so much. Hence why when I started doing Best Wishes reviews, I did it because I didn't think anyone else was interested. That's generally how I felt because, like I said, I'm being close to TSS. I didn't have that much social media interaction with fellow Pokemon fans and people who were invested like that.
To be fair, actually, I didn't even talk to anybody in school about Pokemon because I didn't really have a social life really at that time.
Yeah.
When I went to high school, so I was kind of like I was kind of too weird back then, so it's like I never talked to anybody else. It's kind of funny, like 85% of the people that I know now I've met only in the last 15 years online. So
yeah,
it's kind of weird.
And I would say I was pretty similar. I was pretty weird in general. That's why a lot of my friends I made was through other like media as a way of like bridging the gap. But for me, it's always been the anime was technically my first gateway into the series. The games I love just as much. At the very least, I've beaten at least one game from every generation. The only games I really didn't get into were like the spinoffs. Played all the console games. I went back I think even though Silver was my first game, I went back and played Red and Blue. I went back and spent money to go buy Red and Blue just to have that experience. That's how much I was into the series at the time, and I wouldn't trade that experience for anything. So, yeah, that's my basic story. Tyrone, tell them where you came from.
All right, so Pokemon. I generally, when I was a single kid. I didn't have any siblings at this point, and I moved around a lot because my parents weren't were my parents separated when I was about 3. So I would have this
Yikes.
back and forth of going to my mother's and then to my father's for like weekends or like vice versa. So I moved around a lot, and then obviously with my dad's family, he they would all watch over me sometimes. Sometimes I'd be at my aunt's house, sometimes I'd be at my uncle's, and then I would be at my mom's. So I was just migrating around. I had rooms in literally 4 houses. And that's not like me being that's not a rich thing. That's just a can you take care of my son for a bit while I go out thing. So I went to a lot of places and I've heard of Pokemon. I would see I generally to keep me entertained, I would watch cartoons. That was just the fastest way to catch my attention. I didn't have any other people to play with, and since I moved around a lot, the best way was for me to just watch TV. So I would watch a lot of cartoons, and I was watching Kids WB, and I was watching Animaniacs and things like that, and then all of a sudden, one day I see this show come on. It's called Pokemon. Now I didn't watch Pokemon when it first came out. The first episode I watched was this episode where Paris is apparently too weak, but it needs to evolve into Parasect in order to.
I know you're
That's
talking
the
about.
first. That's actually the first Kids WB app. Actually, it's actually.
Oh, really? Okay,
Yeah,
so I guess
Paris and Parasect. Yeah.
Yeah, so when Parasect, the Pikachu's hitting it with a little jolt of lightning and it gets knocked out.
Yeah.
So that's the first episode I ever watched, and from there it just sort of took off. I would they would the Poke hype I guess it began at that point because they were just doing episodes after episodes. I remember one time I think they did a marathon of just new episodes of Pokemon, and I was just there. I was sitting there the whole time, just taking it all in and enjoying every minute of it. I remember my favorite episode was Electric Shock Showdown when with Pikachu fighting off against Raichu, because I was like, whoa, if all these Pokemon could turn into stronger Pokemon, does Pikachu turn into anything? And
The Thunderbolt.
it turns into Raichu. And when I saw Raichu, I was just like, this thing is amazing. So at some point, though, my parents they would watch some TV with me. They'd watch what I'm watching, or, just to, as parents, you need to watch what your kids are watching. Yeah, supervise, watch what your kids. And they easily saw that Pokemon took my attention. So naturally, they went to go buy me some stuff for my birthday and Christmas. One of the things I got for my birthday was a Game Boy, and I got Pokemon Yellow. That was the first Pokemon game I got. And obviously, it reminded me a lot of the anime. I was doing rookie mistakes. So I was catching I had a team of 2 Caterpies and 3 Rattatas. I would just catch whatever was showing up. And I was terrible at the game, obviously. And as the time progressed, I started picking up on the game a little bit more, though, because there was just something appealing about it, and it definitely helps that I guess in Yellow is the easiest transition because it was so close to the anime. I can get Caterpie, I can get Pidgeotto, I can get not Chikorita. That's the next game. You can get Charmander, Squirtle, Bulbasaur, all the ones. Unfortunately, I lost the Yellow version. As a kid, you're just irresponsible, and I lost Yellow version, and that made me sad. And my mom then came in and said that she won some contest at her job and got Pokemon Red. Now, obviously, this is a step backwards from what I was playing, but I noticed something when I played Red version. When I played Red version, I had a choice between Charmander, Squirtle, or Bulbasaur. I couldn't pick all 3 like Ash did. And that's when I realized that the game universe was completely different than the anime universe.
Damn.
I was just like, what in the world? So you mean to tell me that you as a trainer are completely different than Ash? The Yellow version's just similar.
Gonna learn today.
Yeah, but I learned quickly that I'm supposed to develop my own identity. I'm supposed to be my own trainer. So I easily kept playing the game. Unfortunately, like I said, due to my skills, I didn't make it that far before getting lost. Because as a kid, you're not going to pick up the instruction booklet. You're just at the age I was, you're not going to do it. You're just learning how to read, first of all. So the instruction booklet was something you just really didn't take in. My uncle was into a lot of video games though, so he did give me like he would print the sheet off the internet. I know, right? But the internet was super primitive, and it was the sheet that showed all the levels in which the Pokemon would evolve. So I used that sheet in order to help me out towards it. But I know one cheap trick I did was I had Nidoran. I would catch a Nidoran, turn it into Nidorino, and then by the time I make it to Mount Moon, you get a Moonstone. So you'd have a Nidoking right then and there. So I just had access to like a super powerful Pokemon right off the start. Some years passed, obviously, Gold and Silver came out, and it blew my mind. And at this point, my mother had married someone. So I had a stepdad. He had a son. And he's my stepbrother. Me and him, we got Gold and Silver. He got Gold, I got Silver, and we had a connection there. And we would, to this day, we would continuously, like, if I buy a game, he buys the opposite version, and we keep doing that continuously. And when we were playing Gold and Silver, it progressed. But once I reached the Hoenn region, I think this was during the age where Pokemon was just sort of like outcasted.
Yeah.
Like you were made fun of and openly shamed if you even played Pokemon at this point because you're too old and Dragon Ball Z exists. Which is sad because I like both. I kind of left the anime at this point during the Hoenn region. I watched a few episodes and then I just sort of diverted away from the anime. But the game still had its tight grip on me at this point. Because the games were just was like something we always had to share. So I played Sapphire, my brother played Ruby, and then I would keep going from there and continue to play the games while the anime just sort of took a back seat for a while until at least the end of Diamond and Pearl. Because at that point, Diamond and Pearl was looking pretty interesting, you know, with Paul and everything. And the introduction of Wi-Fi at this point. Because I know I would watch some people online, and this was when YouTube was really young. I would watch like people like Pimp Knight and other YouTubers, you know, play Wi-Fi battles on Pokemon. So I was actually getting back into like the scene of Pokemon again at that point. And when I checked up on the anime, I decided to go back and watch a few of the episodes I missed, and they were super filler heavy, most of the Diamond and Pearl stuff. So it didn't quite catch my eye. I just sort of stuck with the game still. And then around the time I was doing that, I believe Best Wishes came out. And when Best Wishes came out, I got into it only because I was just curious about the way that they decided to handle Best Wishes. It was just Ash was turning his hat backwards again. Like it just looked like there was something about it that reminded me of the original series at least. And it also helped that the Insane Game Freak, Terrell, was reviewing it at the time. So I was watching the episodes in cohesion with him reviewing them. And at this point, I was really getting back into not just the anime, but the games themselves. Now, the trading card game I played back when I was younger, too, I had this VHS tape that taught you how to play. And then I just sort of collect the cards from there. And then my aunt, she was in the military. So she actually got me some cards from Japan, which I thought was pretty cool because they had base there.
Man,
so to this day, she tells me not to open them. So it's just this booster pack of Japanese cards that are still unopened. But at that point, though, once I was still into the games and the anime, I believe after Terrell got done with Best Wishes, I decided I want to go ahead and be a lot more active into the scene too. I decided to review X and Y. I met KG. I met ended up meeting up with you, Terrell, by doing videos with you. You know, I met Dean, then John, then TSS, then the entire gang, Richie. Then obviously we all befriended each other, met Polly, met Natalie.
I think we passed the origin, Tyro.
And then Terrell brought us together for this video. And then,
Stop it.
And then I started telling my story.
Tyron will do some shit like that.
Fucking garbage.
But yeah, that's pretty much my history. It's mostly been with I want to say the middle part of it, the Hoenn region, was the thing that really was an interesting part of my life because I had to underground my love for Pokemon for a bit. It was just like you were considered a nerd or a lame.
I remember that.
a child for even daring to utter the words, so who's watching Pokemon or who's playing
You
Pokemon.
remind
So
me of past
Yeah,
trauma.
actually, I have an
Yeah.
actually interesting anecdote to that. I still remember going into, I was in the 10th grade at the time, and I remember bringing in movie 7 subbed to a
Of all the films.
to a freaking electronic counselor office. Actually, it was actually a program called TechBridge where you can actually build your own
Yeah.
computer, and they had I was in the office and then had a couple people just sit around and watch movie 7 subbed. And then back in
Nice.
like 05.
Ah,
And that was kind of fun.
And one of the things I felt was always interesting though during my whole Pokemon fiasco, at least the Kanto and Johto sections of it, because I know one thing happened with the movie. When the movie came out, it was basically during Pokemon's hype. Like it was all over the news. It had its parade and everything.
Yeah.
The balloon was in the Macy's Day Parade. All of that. When the movie came out, obviously my dad wanted to watch the movie with me, and I think it came out close to my birthday. I think it came out around November.
It was October.
Okay, so it was close, but not super close. My dad
enough.
went to go take me to watch Pokemon the first movie, but obviously a lot of my family members wanted to spend time with me, so my aunt took me to go see Pokemon the first movie like 2 days after, and then my mother went to go take me to see Pokemon the first movie. So I ended up seeing this movie 3 times in theaters, all because they wanted to spend time with me, and I just love each.
That's dedication.
That is some precious shit.
I was like, I love each and every minute of it. And like, I know my dad would like play Stadium with me. He didn't know what he was doing, but I did. So it's just like this great moments.
Stadium and Stadium 2 are still some of my favorite games anyway.
Yeah. And then I know I did get into the spinoffs. I played Puzzle League and Puzzle Challenge around the same time because I got them for Christmas gifts. And to this day, I still like Puzzle League. Puzzle Challenge, I like that one too, but I think just I lost it unfortunately, so I never got to reignite with it.
Well, you can still buy it on 3DS eShop anyway.
Yeah, I have it on the ROM right now, but I do have it on 3DS. I just haven't started playing it yet.
I still remember when I bought Pokemon Puzzle League from Blockbuster back in 2000.
Wait. Guys, before we get into that, let Richie get his.
So yeah, I was going to say that's pretty much it. I was just going to say I want to thank. I just want to close this part off. It's thanks to my family and friends that I was able to, get back into it. I'm glad I have supporting family and supporting friends that even when I got older, they still supported my love for the series. So yeah, go ahead, Richie.
Yeah, I didn't want to deprive him of his story.
Y'all remember me. This is the greatest thing in my life.
No, sorry.
I love my life. Anyways,
Love of my life.
The earliest memory I can remember of Pokemon, and this wasn't anything special. I do remember having, for whatever reason, this was around the time of movie 2000, as it was in America. It was like this little backpack, like not like a big backpack for like school, but like one of those small medium bags. And that was like my earliest memories of it. I just saw this bag, and I'm like, oh my god, it looks so cool. And I didn't realize what it was, but it looked cool to me, so I didn't care. But then one day I was like, let me go see what this is all about. And, I saw movie 2000 then, and I thought, wow, this looked pretty cool. But of course I was young at the time, and I didn't really take the time to understand the franchise. So, years later, I think around the time of Diamond or Pearl was when I really got into the series in itself. First, I think I got into the anime first, and the anime was something that I genuinely enjoyed. I liked the way Ash was as a trainer. I liked I don't know, something about Diamond and Pearl appealed me, probably just because I think it was like one of the first few episodes. I think it was like where Ash and Dawn argue with each other, and for some reason I thought the scene was kind of hilarious. I'm like, I'm going to give the series a try. And since then, I've enjoyed the series, and obviously, of course, it led me to meeting a lot of you, so I'm always thankful for that. But a little bit of the games, because it was around the same time I also got into the games. My first, and I kind of did lie about this in a part of Crystal where I said Black and White was my first games, but I misspoke, because my first games actually were more Platinum. I bought a DSi, and I'm like, I could buy games, but I don't know what to get. So I was looking to see, okay, what do I get? What do I get? And I noticed that Platinum was out at the time. So I'm like, oh, okay, it looks pretty cool. Guillotine looks like a beast. So, I bought it, and, I've enjoyed it for what it was. Of course, I hated Matt Coronet, but I'm pretty sure everyone does. So that. But despite Matt Coronet, I thought it was pretty cool, especially especially Giratina's world. I thought that was the coolest shit I've seen in a video game at that point. And then after that was when I really got into the whole franchise as a whole. Like I started buying the cards, like the card game. But although I will say that the card game I kind of dropped out from around the time of X and Y, around the last set of X and Y, and then afterwards I was just like, yeah, I'm gonna just stick with the games and the anime because those seem to be the only things I myself are invested to. So, and then I got into the way I got into the anime, like I said, was through Diamond or Pearl, but it wasn't at like a consistent level. Like I wasn't watching it every week. It was more so of something like, this is okay. So when I got into Japanese, it was around the time, and this was the same time where I actually got into the series consistently. Like every week I watched the episode, no matter what. As far as when I got into it, as far as Japanese, I think it was around the time of the Sinnoh League. And if I remember correctly, it was the Paul and Barry fight. That was the episode that got me into it. And I'm like, this is what it sounds like in Japanese. The music sounds pretty cool. So I'm like, all right, well, let's get into it. And then, I saw the Ash and Paul battle. I'm like, all right, now this is some good shit. And then, because of that, I decided to give the next series, Best Wishes, a chance. And, it had a good start for me. But obviously, as we know, that series didn't quite end on the greatest of all terms. And as far as the topic about, how people view me back then when I liked Pokemon, well, obviously, it was the same shit as Terrell in the sense that, obviously I had some people be like, oh my God, you like Pokemon? You like Pokemon? Aren't you like, isn't that for like kids now, like younger kids? And I'm like to myself, well, fuck it, call me young kid. I don't care. I like what I like. And obviously, of course, there were a few times where it kind of got to me a little bit. It kind of got to me, and I got into some accidents that I cannot disclose. But but the moral of the story is this: you don't try and bother someone else when they're enjoying their interests, and let's just and maybe you won't get such a meanie rich, but I generally didn't like getting shit for liking something just because other people didn't like it. So like Terrell, I kind of was low key about it, but at some point I think it was like mid Best Wishes near the end of it where I was just like, you know what, if people are gonna judge me for it, fuck it, So I just started talking about it a lot, and people started to eventually not care, and I'm like, see, this is what I wanted to accomplish. So just a few more thoughts, and then I would just finish up my my roundtable. And basically, the anime got me more invested into the community. And of course, around the same time, because of the experiences I've had to Platinum, and I wanted to give this more of a chance, I bought Black and White. And Black and White remains to be my favorite main series Pokemon game because it was a really, I don't know, something about Black and White, it was really enjoyable.
It's a good game.
It was a great game.
Yeah, it's really, I don't know, something about it was really enjoyable. I think it was just the way that they were trying to be more unique, which is something the other generations don't know about. But anyways, so basically Black and White got me more invested into the game franchises, and I started buying the games from there. And as far as the anime, obviously I'm still into it, and it was something that I would always have high regards for, because it did kind of get me out of some moments in life where things were a little bit tough, although I don't know if they were as tough compared to the other two that were mentioning that. But it kind of got me through some awkward moments where it felt kind of where you didn't have any friends. Well, I mean, I did have like a few friends, but it still felt like I still felt like a minority in a way. So basically what I did from there was, I just said, you know what, as long as I'm enjoying it, as long as that's the case, then, you shouldn't really care what other people think. So overall, Pokemon has helped me out a lot, as far as connecting with folks. You know, obviously talking to them instead of just online, like with you guys, with some of y'all over in New York. So I would say that Pokemon was definitely one of the most influential franchises I've ever got into. And you know, sometimes you always ask yourself, do you regret something? And getting the Pokemon is definitely something I never regretted, because it definitely helped me a lot in life. So overall, you know, thanks Nintendo.
Fuck my heart up, yeah. I couldn't handle that.
Oh.
So with that being said, what we're gonna do now, because I knew
You guys are a bunch of nerds.
No, I knew all the back. I knew all the backstory stuff was gonna be like this.
To be 100% fair, without Pokemon, my social life wouldn't be nothing today.
Yeah, like people gotta. I mean, and that's the main thing, especially for like the ones of us who kind of grew
Without
up with
Pokemon,
it.
I wouldn't be here. Thanks, Pikachu.
I mean, you gotta think about it. When a franchise sticks with you through all ages of your development, it's gonna be used as kind of a coping mechanism in a way to like deal with shit, especially depending on how your childhood was. Some people's lives were better than others, and some people's lives weren't as good. Some people just dealt with social anxiety and shit. It's just that's the nature of any childhood franchise. A lot of people would say that same thing about like Digimon or Yu-Gi-Oh, or people who got into Magic the Gathering. Hell, people say that about Harry Potter. People, it's those childhood franchises that you connected with as a kid that like helped shaped you as an adult. Because let's be real, I think we've all had our little moments where you pretended to take a Pokeball in your room and you pretended to throw it like Ash. You turn your hat backwards.
Pokemon Go.
I've gone full nerd with that shit. Like I bought
pretended. You mean
Well,
pretend?
the reason why I'm still here is because I made a pledge many years ago saying I will continue to talk with people online about Pokemon until my life doesn't suck anymore. It still sucks, so I'm still coming here.
Wow, that's
Wow.
Damn.
Yikes.
So
Yikes.
I don't want to do this the script of switching around, because I already know this shit will be too long, and I want this to be more of a free flowing conversation from this point forward. So the basis of this is kind of weird. I guess it's nostalgic things you used to do as a kid that related around Pokemon. For example, I don't know if anyone else did this. I used to pretend like I had my own character that traveled around with Ash, Brock, and Misty, and I gave myself like my own custom team and shit. And I'm weird. I used to like watch the episodes and like interject where I think my character would interject. This is just,
So you Kingdom Hearts Pokemon.
I guess it was also real. It was weird because my mom thought I was crazy because I was talking to myself essentially, or I was talking to the television.
Same.
Well, it's like,
Yeah.
well, I do the same shit. It's like,
Well,
I'm
I
so-
mean, you gotta realize the reason why the insane part of my YouTube name comes from because I used to do that a lot.
I'm gonna go ahead. Sorry.
No, I'll just finish up. But all I was gonna say is that I'm when I didn't have any friends around me, because even though I had friends, a lot of them didn't live in the area. That's what I used to do. Either that, or I would go outside and grab rocks or things that were like shaped like Pokeballs and throw them out there and have the full battle in my mind. Especially, I think I did that a lot with movie 3.
I don't think I've ever did that, but there were some times where I was like, if that were me, I would have done this or that. Why did I ask you this?
Well, yeah, it kind of just depends on the age and where you are in your life at the time. Those were some of the quirks that I used to do. But go ahead, Tyrone.
I'm gonna crack this little nugget open. So, Pokemon, the Pokemon fanfic that I worked on, the Pokemon Universe fanfic, it is not comprised from completely nothing. It was acted out as a kid with me, with obvious differences, because now the regions we've been through like what 4 generations since I actually had the idea. So it deprived from something. It's laid out parts of my pretending. So the character Trent still retains his name from back then. I didn't want to use my name for some reason. It sounded weird. So I would play out these like moments in my room, and much like Terrell, yes, I had the moments where I was, talking to myself. I would make the voices and everything, have the different characters, and be like Trent, you only have one Pokemon left. Like just like do the voices, and I would act out the thing, and I would even go as far as to take like the music that I had on a computer. If a battle's going on, I would press play and I would act out the battle while that's happening. So I did have a setup during that time where I was literally just acting out my own series.
Yeah, it's
yeah.
I can completely. That's just some. I don't know what. I guess this is what happens when you get so involved into a series. You kind of you really want to get immersed in the world. I remember I used to daydream about being in like Kanto and shit, just to have that experience. Because to be honest with the Pokemon world, other than some of the natural disasters, is pretty cool, all things considered. Just to have these creatures, and especially in Gen 3 when they start introducing, oh yeah, there are different professions. You don't just have to. And the anime introduced a bunch of other things that weren't like canon, but like other jobs that people had that involved Pokemon.
Mm-hmm.
So I felt like you could kind of choose your route in life. I don't know. It was cool stuff. So
that makes sense.
So if anyone else has like, it doesn't have to specifically be that, but just kind of things you used to do as a kid correlating with Pokemon, like in a.
What was
Well, for me, it's more like I started experimenting with the stuff back when I was starting as an adult.
Yeah, that's the age differences. I figured it was going to come up anyway.
Yeah, because what ended up happening was, so I got back into Pokemon in like late September, like early September 2004. And what ended up happening was, started to get into a lot of the music stuff, and back in the old Kazaa days, used to like download random crap, right? So I would have like random music, and then and this included like Japanese music because I was on the Japanese high train at the time. And in about like early 2006, I started to experiment with like AMV type videos. It wasn't exactly AMV yet, but I remember the first video that I made was putting the theme to Tokusou Sentai Deca Ranger. And that was I think it was what was it? The opening. I cannot remember at the moment what the hell the name was. But anyway, I took that and after acquiring like AVI rips, XVID rips of the I think it was Perfect Best collection. That Perfect Best collection, Perfect Best 1 came out at that time. That was the videos of all the textless openings. So I took the Tokusou Sentai Deca Ranger opening, the short version. It was the long version, and then I put it up against Mezaze Pokemon Master 2001, and it matched up perfectly. So that was the first. So that was literally the first what I would call the unaltered footage videos. But I didn't know it at the time, and then I started experimenting with AMV stuff, including having to. The first AMVs that I made were actually in Avisynth, and I cut and I trimmed all of the segments. So if I were to open up an Avisynth script and show you, it would be like 200 lines long. Because I literally did the scene cuts by trimming the sources. And this is before the days where I used Premiere. I started using Premiere probably around 2009. And it was because of that, and it was because of my interest in the music that I started doing like Pokemon AMV stuff. And I still believe that I don't do any flashy effects. I don't have those stupid Comic Sans fonts or what the fuck that is. Or like a fucking turn the fucking video negative for 30 frames.
The most hated font in the world.
Well, yes. No. The most hated font is that font from the default fucking font that people used on the old Windows Movie Maker. That shit.
I thought it was Wingdings.
I think everyone on the internet had kind of an AMV period. It's just something easy to do, and it was something.
But the thing, the difference though is, from what I've seen, a lot of people, they don't have the flow.
Well, of course not. At that point, people just wanted to make a simple music video from a song they like, using an anime or something like.
Yeah, but some of them were not even matched up to the music properly.
Most of them weren't good. I mean, some people some people did go out of their way and tried to make real
This was when
technically.
YouTube was young.
Yeah, so like
Yes.
you were
Yeah,
just doing
it's
a
like,
lot of
come on.
experimenting. Like I kept,
Yes.
ironically enough, that's how I got introduced to a lot of like rock music was because everyone kept, especially Linkin Park. I could not go.
Oh God!
I couldn't watch.
I think everybody used the same fucking reanimated version of the end.
Yes.
Yeah, they usually did it with Naruto. They usually did it with Naruto
It
videos.
doesn't even matter.
Oh, God. Not Naruto.
Actually, that's I feel like I missed out an entire talking about an entire part there because I actually am like, well, I was last year an editor professionally in the news, and a big part of that, like, I actually owe to Pokemon because I also that like one of the first things I ever did was making AMVs, and my first AMV I ever made Brock and Susie. And I set it to this old Journey song called Send Her My Love. Because Susie from OS, who was a recurring character, and whose Vulpix Brock kept for a while, she went off with this other guy, this other character of the day. So it was like obviously it was all centered around Brock being heartbroken because like that was like my first ship. And that was on Windows Movie Maker. Eventually when I graduated from 8th grade that year, I got a white MacBook Pro for my graduation, and there's iMovie
Fancy.
there. Well, now it's ancient. We had it for years, and we just gave it away last year. But I like did everything on that. Like I had Final Cut Pro, I had iMovie, and not Final Cut Express, and I made
Final Cut
2 more
Express,
Brock AMVs.
because nobody can afford Final Cut Pro. That's just like $10,000.
Oh yeah, no, it was Express.
Fuck that, brother.
It was Express, and like I guess I could say that like I was really inspired to editor from the 3 Brock AMVs I made, which got taken down from YouTube.
Of course
Thank
they
you.
did. This is the irony.
Another thing I did was I feel like I would have done the same thing as Tyrone because I used to do that with like all my Beanie Babies, like as a kid, like my Beanie Babies, my dad's action figures. I had a lot of the DC figures, even like, Disney movies, pretending all the Disney characters were like in the car with me on a road trip and going on adventures. Like I feel like definitely if I had gotten into the series, I would have definitely done that. And I'm sad I kind of missed out on that specifically with Pokemon, but I'm glad I got to do it with other series too. But I guess one interesting thing is not many might know is that I grew up a dancer. Since I was 3 years old, I've been dancing my whole life. And when I first got into the music, even the cheesy 4Kids music, I used to make up dances in my living room, like even going as far as like draw costumes or like do the choreography. I did that for a few other games though too. I did that for like the Brawl remixes.
The power of creativity, folks.
And I don't know. I thought that was pretty cool too, and I guess it was a cool way to combine 2 things that I absolutely love. So I'd say that's like my most nostalgic memories.
KG's just dead over there. Hey, buddy.
KG, what are you alive?
How you doing?
KG, what'd you do as a kid with Pokemon?
Play, collect.
Come on, yo.
KG,
Come on.
Come
You're
on.
fucking boring.
Okay.
Get
I
off the
remember one
stage.
time-
No, but if you
I
okay,
remember
to
one
speak
time
real
you
though.
said
Oh,
you said you was your mom's favorite Pokemon, right?
Yes, that's what I was actually about to bring up though, because
Yes.
one thing that I think that really connects people with Pokemon is especially more when you can connect it with your family, because
Right.
Pokemon when growing up has been like that for me because it wasn't alone. I like for not just with Pokemon. I'm talking about with video games as a whole. I would often play with my parents on like the Nintendo 64. Like we would get Mario Kart or something like that, Mario Kart 64. We would be playing that right there. And my mother, she was never really into the video game side for Pokemon. She just liked collecting the cards. So like every weekend or Saturday or Sunday, we would always go together to a card store that would like have these vending machines that would distribute these Pokemon cards, like the packs. and we always would do that every weekend just to see what kind of cool things we would get. Of course,
Right.
unfortunately, we don't do that no more, given that store burned down, sadly.
Oh,
That was a tragic moment in my life.
What
And
a
I think that was
twist.
also when I stopped collecting cards at that age. So we lost something there, but I do have one fond memory, something I always bring up many times regarding me, my mother, and Pokemon, and it has to do with Pokemon the third movie. So what happened was that we were ordering tickets to go watch Pokemon the third movie, and we happened to have arrived to the theater despite them telling us that it's going to be at 4 o'clock. When we got to see the movie itself, it was like about an hour into the film.
mm.
So it completely confused me, and then I don't know what happened. Some kind of little issue happened in between the scenes, but we didn't really get caught into this. In terms of what the hell was going on, right? So I was a little disappointed with that. I watched the last 20, 30 minutes of the movie and was just like, well, time for us to head home. You know what I mean? But my mother decided to do something pretty hilarious, where she somehow snuck both of us into the next line to go straight back into the theater and watch the full movie in its entirety. So somehow she
Your
was
mom's
able
the goat.
to. Yeah, I don't know how she
Right.
did it. Like, I'm not
Wow.
gonna, uh, complain about it of any sort, because that, thanks to her, I was able to see the full entirety of the third movie. And also, you remember back then when you go to the theaters as well, you would always get a set of cards like in the movie packs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I got an additional set too somehow, and I was just like, well, good job on that one. I got me some additional cards, all good to go. And that, I believe, was probably my fondest memories with the series of Pokemon. Just that little moment when we just somehow snuck in to see the third movie yet again in its entirety this time. So we didn't skip out on the Pichu shore. We saw the movie in its entirety. We were both happy that day. But just to also bring up something about my mother, like you mentioned, Karen, she is a fanatic of Mew. She loves Mew. Like, she has like 4 or 5 plushies of Mew right there. And in fact, I've been wanting to try to collect more for her, because just how much she loves it. And she got super excited when she learned that the upcoming Pokemon film is based on the first movie getting remade in 3D, and seeing her Mew in 3D. She got really excited for that. So there's just something in there that's letting me know that this film really is, I know this is going sidetrack, but this film really is targeting to those who watched the first movie, and also are, I guess, just big fans of the classic 151, because that's the one she knows the most.
Yeah.
So it's gonna be
Yeah.
great to finally see the movie together again. Because we both saw this when it premiered in theaters, when it aired, when it launched on cinemas.
Yeah.
And now 20 something years later, we're able to
Well, it's 20.
recreate
It is
that.
20 years later.
Exactly, because
Literally, it's 20 years later.
for the
Jesus.
dub side, it came out in 1999, correct?
Yes.
Yeah, so
Yes.
technically 20 years later for us dub
Mhm.
viewers, now we're able to recreate that memory again, except obviously
Mhm.
20 years older. So I think that there's going to be that nice little warm touch once again with
And-
connecting with family right there.
And a
this time I'm
sidetrack.
going to bring my little brother too.
And a sidetrack, Pokemon.com. Please bring all the Buy 151 plushes onto the Pokemon Center US. Thank you, because I saw those in the center
Thank
in
you.
Japan, and I loved all the display.
Jeez.
Oh, dude, I'm just
I
waiting
need
for them
another.
to put the ferret plush available there. I'm
You
gonna
guys
get
agree?
that shit day one.
Must have another.
Oh my
Oh, you
lord.
gotta get the one that's
Oh,
6
boy.
feet tall.
I
No, that's
will.
what I'm saying. The life size one.
Yeah,
Christ.
6 feet tall.
Right.
I will.
I can't wait.
I will
Ooh,
say.
life size Pollywood.
I will say.
Oh my goodness.
My family. It's kind of weird hearing y'all's, because like my family wasn't nowhere near as invested in like what I was doing.
Same.
For a while.
Oh, same here.
So
Yeah.
there's a slight disconnect for me. But there is a funny story involving my mother that involves Pokemon that I think, although isn't what I would consider sweet, it's kind of dumb, but I still appreciate it to this day for the small things. My mom my dad wasn't really around in my household, so I don't have really a relationship with my father. But my mom,
My father has been gone for 30 years.
oh, so you can relate.
Yeah, exactly.
But
Y'all make me sad fucking shit.
and I'm just saying, look, some families are different.
Exactly.
But my
My
mom,
mom hauled ass back in the day.
yeah, it's literally the same thing. I have a lot of respect for my mom, and my mom was willing to indulge in my insanity. I would probably say I drove her nuts as a child because I asked her for the games, I asked her for the movies, I asked for cards. I didn't have a job. I don't think it's funny. I didn't get a job until I was in high school. So like literally, she bought the majority of the Pokemon
I was
stuff I had.
20.
Yeah,
Yikes.
Yeah,
so like my mom bought a lot of the Pokemon stuff I have, even all the stuff I still keep and cherish for it. And unfortunately, I guess as a side effect to it, she kind of defaulted and assumed everything I was into was primarily Pokemon related. So like it didn't matter if I was watching Dragon Ball Z or something, she would always go, "Oh, I see you're watching Pokemon again." I'm like, "Mom, that's not Pokemon. That's
them damn Pokey people.
yeah." It gets that.
My mom to this day she pronounces it Pokemon.
Oh,
Pokemon.
see,
Pokemon.
well, see, my
Oh.
mom,
Pokemon,
I think
yes.
my mom realized as I got older, it's like, oh yeah, he's into different shit. But I think she does it for me. I think sometimes she mentions it. She still calls it Pokemon. Like, what was it? I think because I also had like this. I wouldn't say a huge infatuation, but I really started enjoying SpongeBob when that came on around '99. And so the running joke would always be like, I have like right now, I currently still have like a Pokemon, a SpongeBob lunch case. And even now, and she knows it's not, and she'll still do it. She'll be like, I'm gonna go put something in your Pokemon case, and I'm like, Mom, we both know. And she's like, you know what I mean. And she does it because she knows because I
She
used
just
to.
does it because she's doing it. She's doing
My grandmother lived with me a lot, and when she started watching me watch Dragon Ball Z, she's like, "What's that damn show you watch? You know, with them people's hair on fire."
Oh.
She would continue to confuse it. She'd be like, "Pokey Joe or Peekaboo or Poopaboo or whatever those are
Yeah,
called."
that's literally it.
All right.
My mom would go.
Part-
My mom would go Pokemon, Ziggymon, Oogymon. I'm like, Mom.
Yeah, and then the weird part was that, okay, so my grandmother is like, she's a grandmother. She has a sister. Now, her sister, they're both around the same age. The weird part is that her sister knows all about Pokemon. That's how she was able to, like, her son, which is my cousin, had all the Pokemon cards and everything. She knew about Pokemon really well. She knew about it, so she'd be like, girl, that's Pokemon. And I just thought it was so funny. Like my grandma and her sister would have these banters. They'd be like, "What's the Pokey Joe?" Or my great aunt, Pokey Joe, Peekaboo. She goes, "Girl, that's Pokemon."
My goodness.
So I just thought it was funny. Girl, that's Pokemon.
I feel like I should probably like. I love that actually.
I'll tell you this much. My brother played the shit out of the games back in the day. We actually went out and it's kind of like the same story as KG alluded to. You know, we had a game store out on Fordham Road in the Bronx.
Did
It's
it
not
burn
there.
down?
It's not there anymore. No, it didn't burn down. It just turned into a fucking pizza place. It's fucking stupid.
Hey.
And basically what happened was that what made that store special was that they imported Japanese games.
Mm-hmm.
Like I remember seeing Super Famicom games there back in the day. Like we're talking like 99, 98. And then back in the summer of 99, they had the Japanese version of Gold and Silver in stock in the case for $40. Which is kind of expensive because you think that back in the day, you know, Game Boy games were $30, right? So $29.95, you know. So $40 for the game. We bought gold for my brother because we had to share like one Game Boy Pocket because she got that for like $5 off a yard sale randomly. And my brother ended up playing the crap out of the games even though he didn't know Japanese at all. He still doesn't know because he's a dumbass. But anyway,
Jesus Christ!
Wow.
That was so dark.
Well, he's older than me. Okay, I could rip him.
That's not justified. Do you think that justifies it? No. He's fucking savage.
Yeah, and that's why I ended up getting beaten as a child. Anyway, continuing on.
Oh my goodness!
I think he means like big brother beating up, like
Yes.
brother sibling fights, not brutal death match.
Well,
Yeah,
if
correct.
it was,
Oh,
yeah.
there goes my-
we did have wrestling matches where he like power bombed me off the fucking couch and shit.
But that's siblings. Siblings
Yeah.
do that.
So siblings abuse each
So-
other. 10 out of 10 best sibling.
Yeah, I remember the time my mother
I was an older
remember,
brother. I
these were
didn't
the
do
days.
that shit.
Okay, these were the days where we didn't have the internet in the house. I mean, we didn't freaking get like AOL dial-up until like 2001.
AOL was
My
a
brother,
bitch, though.
my brother fucking powered through that fucking game, the whole summer, without and that was crazy, considering that he was very intuitive. He has a creative mind in artistic stuff. Like he draws. He's left-handed, and he does like lots of like electronic work now. He does a lot of soldering shit now, and he does game modifications now. So they kind of did like he's the kind of more creative person with his hands in the family. I'm more of the more brain creative. But like I said, I tried playing American Silver the following year, and I sucked. I played like 10 minutes of it, and I said, you know what, I'm not gonna do this because I played all the spin-offs. I played like Stadium. I bought Stadium New. I bought Stadium 2 New. I bought, as I said earlier, Pokemon Puzzle League from the local Blockbuster Video. And until this day, it has the fucking sticker on it in the back. I did not take it out. It even has the date. It even has date code on it. So still quite funny. He says, "Property of Blockbuster." Well, it belongs to me now, bitch. So anyway, it's like as the years go by, my brother, I don't know. It's not a thing of jealousy. It's just like he just does his own thing, and he still plays the games.
Welcome to
till this very
TSS's
days.
family issues.
That's fine.
Well,
No, it's good. Well, it's all good. But it's like a love-hate relationship with my brother. We're polar opposites, so that's kind of how it is.
I have a younger sister. I can relate. That's all I'll say.
Yep.
But,
Yeah, and it's all right, and to think that we've gone like now this is like 21st year into the franchise. It's still quite funny to just look back at some of these memories, and I remember still sitting downstairs at my old place. We used to sit downstairs, and it used to be like a men's club and then the karate school, and we used to bring out like this mat, like this mat comforter mat thing, and we used to bring down a CRT TV. Well, actually, it was a CRT Commodore Amiga monitor, and we hook up an N64 in there, and kids would play after the karate classes, and that was the most fun I would ever have during the couple summers that we did that. That was fucking amazing, and I miss those days.
But, Polly, I think you had something you were trying to say earlier.
Oh,
Yeah, I want to go after Polly if I could.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like I should probably, talking about our parents and family, how they played the role in that. I feel like I should probably go back and just say that even my parents, they didn't really understand. Like, even though the school wasn't too keen on it, they just kind of like, I guess they were just influenced at the time. They didn't really understand like what this was. Like, my dad didn't grow up with like watching anime or really doing. I think like the closest he got was like both my parents are very into Godzilla. Like, they love Godzilla, but that's
Gojira!
well, yeah, closest
Gojira.
to Japanese media they've ever really gotten.
The bad dub from the 1960s.
But once I started, it didn't really start until I like made friends, and I started meeting up with these friends like through the fandom and Twitter, Tumblr, all this social media, going to conventions and whatnot. I think they started realizing that this was kind of a very special thing to me, and it wasn't until then that they really started supporting me. And like, even nowadays, they'll say, "Oh, did you see that like in the news?" or yeah, everybody's playing Pokemon Go. Like, just like things that they hear, they'll tell me about it. And I think that's really sweet of them that they want to, they want to find that common bond. Whereas, in the past, it was more like, well, why do you like this stuff? Or like, it's weird, or I don't like this, I don't know, all this magic, psychic stuff. Like, I think that kind of just originally but it's a different time now.
Yeah.
And, I really think it's like just a different time. I mean, they're like more like they're darker and more violent games out there. So I want to say that they have been supportive in that, and they're happy to see that I'm happy. And also, I think a large part of it was like I definitely owe my brother and sister for kind of getting me into the games. My sister would also like watch my brother, and then eventually I joined them, like I said. And even nowadays, like my sister, like if I like I'll tell them news and like what's because they kind of dropped off from they don't really watch the show anymore, but they still have fond memories uh of my sister loves May and Drew and Dawn, and they're like her favorite characters, and she's 7 years younger than me. My other brother has his favorites too, and of course his favorite games. So I guess that was also like a really nice bonding experience, kind of like how Tyrone and his brother, or my brother and I will often, we'll get both games and talk about it afterwards, and so yeah. Okay, Richie. What?
It's the beautiful.
Yeah.
It's the beautiful sibling moments. I can relate. I mean, my sister indulged me a little while when Silver came out. My mom bought her like a Game Boy Color that I hold a little resentment for, because she got like this whole like, I don't know if it was like a legit one, but it was definitely like a whole styled fucking Game Boy Color, and she got gold version and then like never fucking beat the game, and I was like, why did she get that one? And then I got like this basic blue-green one. This is bullshit, yo. But that's also sibling
Were you
rivalry.
Were you the older sibling?
Yes.
That's exactly why.
Life is unfair sometimes. But see,
that's why.
It's unfair.
But see, my sister, she kind of dropped off pretty much after
She's
that.
new.
She dropped off, so there wasn't as much of a connection there, unfortunately. But hey, every family's different. Richie, go ahead. I didn't want to let you go.
Yeah, you're good. As far as the parents being is concerned, it was sort of the same thing. They sort of didn't really understand why I was so invested into it, which I find kind of weird, because considering, if your kid likes something, and as long as it's not a bad thing, then I don't know why.
As long as he ain't selling drugs.
Yeah, that's even the weird thing. Like sometimes I don't remember what it was. A trading card game. I just don't remember what set it was. I remember it was like one of the last few ones of the Diamond and Pearl era or whatever. I decided, because I had like a good amount of money, that I wanted to get like 2 or 3 tins and a couple of packs. So when I said that to one of my folks, they looked at me as if I just asked them, "Hey, can I buy some crack?" Like, what? And they're like, "Are you sure you want to do that? Are you sure you want to do that?"
Man, I thought my childhood was fucked up, man. Yo.
To be fair, I don't know if anyone else went through this. When you were little, the trading card game was like some gang shit at school.
Yeah, it was definitely like the schools would come.
That was part of why
we were like slipping cards to each other and shit and trading in class.
Hiding that shit in our inside pockets of our jackets.
People were fighting for holographics.
Let me ask you a question. Did you ever have that issue where, like, if your teacher found out you had like a deck of Pokemon cards, they would take the deck and you wouldn't get it back until the end of the year?
No, I
lost.
Not till the end of the year. Mine was like until
the video game. They did that here.
Oh,
like,
really?
Like if you, like very shortly. I remember back in elementary school. Like very shortly after Pokemon came out. I think it was probably about 6 months afterwards. They banned Game Boys from school.
Yeah, that's true.
Even during lunchtime. I mean, they didn't have the fucking problem with Tamagotchi or fucking Digipacks.
We had a computer teacher. He was like, "Yeah, I collect Pokemon cards, so if I see them in my class, I'm taking them."
That was easy. Mine.
You bastard!
I remember that. My first grade teacher, she said we were trading in the back of class, and she caught us with it. And she took my whole deck and put it in like this cabinet, and I wasn't gonna get it back until like summer of that next year. And I was
looking back, that's a dangerously long time.
That is a dangerous long time.
Yeah, you could forget that shit.
Oh no!
Yeah, exactly.
She remembered. She remembered to and gave it to me back towards the end of May or something, which was funny because I had built up an entirely new deck by the time I got that one back. So it was like, oh shit, I got all the other cards I was looking for because I had forgotten for a while.
I never understand
We're
not
even playing in that set anymore, Terrell.
Yeah, it was weird. It was funny because I never.
You even played that to begin with?
I never learned the card game.
I don't think anyone ever actually knew it.
We just wanted to collect
one of those places. I went to one of those places to play.
Some people would make up the attacks and stuff.
Yeah, I mean, at that point, it was just part of the hype. Like you wanted to be a part of it, regardless if you were playing the games or the
It
cards
was
or
fun to
watching the
collect.
show.
It was fun to collect.
It's crazy
Yeah,
because
yeah.
Pokemon had so many avenues for you to get into it. It was like,
Oh yeah.
you like
It
something.
was like everywhere. It was like fucking chicken pox.
Yeah, it was like.
Oh yeah, of course. The news was
I still
talking
can't
about
believe
Pokemon.
that
They kept thinking
Pokemon was my first gotcha game, man.
The cool thing is now that I work in actually in both
I see that tweet.
oh,
No,
oh
go ahead,
yeah,
Polly.
getting real nostalgic. But since I work in the news, I'm not going to disclose publicly. But I worked at 2 networks so far, and both of them we've done stories on Pokemon. I think last year was mostly about Pokemon Go, and then this year has been Detective Pikachu. We even had a guy who he was a toy maker, and one of the hottest toys for this year is actually Detective Pikachu, like this plush of it.
Really?
I don't know if it talks or something. Yeah, but I thought that was awesome. Like the anchors, the 2 anchors are sitting there. They're amazed. They're like, "Wow, that's really cool." And then I'm just sitting behind my computer with watching the rundown. Like, yeah, it's cool. Like you don't know the depth of what I'm through.
It's like you people are fucking you people are fucking airheads. You know jack shit. I know more.
I'm an airhead.
No one
shit.
knows the depths. I mean, even now, my friend Natalie's sending me this Japanese artist who draws Silent and Burgundy. She's like, "Hey, you want some merch?" It's just an amazing thing where
You
you
want some crack?
Richie, what is up with
No,
you and
but,
crack?
It's just an amazing thing where
Some
now
good
it's
stuff,
delved
buddy.
into this whole this audience response where it's you go to there's that whole side of it where you go to conventions, you get merchandise,
See
plushes.
the thing is though, Richie freebases off of fucking Pokemon Pixie Sticks, so we don't.
Oh my goodness!
I remember way back they had this and this is weird because Hoenn was around the time I was leaving Pokemon, but the release of Hoenn had this cool little presentation to it. They had this thing way out and near Illinois where everybody would get together and they were just giving out all this merch. There was this quiz that you would have to answer, and it was basically to hype up the launch of Ruby and Sapphire, or Pokemon Advance for the anime.
Yeah.
Yes.
So they were giving out all these cool things, these e-reader cards, these the toys, the poster for the Jirachi movie, even though the anime hasn't even started yet. It was just all over. I don't know if you guys remember that.
I don't remember
Well,
that. I
was out of action at that point. I mean, I didn't go to many places like Toys R Us because at that point we were freaking broke. So I mean,
yeah, I can relate.
Yeah.
I was gonna say,
it's
it had to be during the Dominant Pro era. Remember when Pokemon had that huge tournament? You could qualify in certain states, and then if you were able,
I remember going down.
Yeah.
I remember going down to the Diamond and Pearl launch back in 2007. That was the first event I went
Diamond
to.
and Pearl, Pearl was the first game I ever purchased with my own money. By the way, I saved up for tons of time, and that was the first game I actually bought with my own money. It was a proud moment.
I'm trying to think. What was the first game I bought with my own money? Because I got a job
Well,
when I was 16.
I was platinum, so
and
actually no. Well, yeah, the one that I bought with my own money, my first one with.
I got a job in 2005 and 6, so that would have been around the time of Diamond and Pearl, I would think.
I think Platinum was the first game I pre-owned, but Pearl was the first one I bought.
Diamond and Pearl. Oh, actually, I guess I'll real quickly will tell the quick story. There is something in Gen 4 I have a positive outlook on, but it's also a mixed bag. I won my first tournament in Diamond and Pearl.
I remember the story.
Yeah, when Battle Revolution for the Wii was coming out, GameStop was doing kind of these mini
Part
tournaments.
Part 3 of Pokemon Crystal.
Meaning doing these mini tournaments. And I remember I was like, fuck it, I've never done this before. I want to try doing a tournament this time. And it was already kind of cool just having my DS wirelessly connect to the Wii and having my team up there and everything. But I started the first battle and I almost lost. I was so bummed. I went through that entire match and I was like, fuck me. And then ironically enough, the game froze. I don't know if it was the Wii or if it was someone's DS.
It was your mystic powers. So it was your powers.
The Wii or the DS froze and it stopped it temporarily. So we had to restart the match. And luckily, he didn't say anything about us not being able to change our teams. So I didn't change, like I didn't go back and switch Pokemon out of the box. I just switched the order of my team, and then I proceeded to steamroll the entire fucking tournament. And as a reward, I got Pokemon Battle Revolution for free. So the copy of Battle Revolution I own, I never paid for, which I'm glad because fuck that game for a lot of different reasons.
Yeah, I'm gonna say, looking back at it, it's just like,
it's bittersweet. I probably will never throw that game away. That's the problem. It's like I know Battle Revolution isn't the greatest game.
It's a memorable moment. It's the memories.
Yeah, it was cool because I always wanted to compete in tournaments, but I never got the chance because we couldn't go anywhere because of money. So I couldn't I think one of the qualifiers for I think one of the Pokemon tournaments I was watching online. It was like the first one. Yeah, I had to go to Atlanta, and my mom was like, we don't have the money for that. And I'm like, please, and she wouldn't take me. And I remember that shit. You crushed me as a kid, but that's just go ahead.
Going back to the DP launch, actually, that was the time where I actually met Juichi Masuda because he was actually there, and that's how come I was on Pokemon Sunday for like half a second. Half of my face.
You didn't take a picture?
There I am, Gary. There I am.
I didn't have. This is 2007. 2007. I had no money. I had no camera. I had no money.
Damn it!
But the thing is though, to be fair, I did get something out of there. I got my Pochama Piplup fan signed by Junichi Masuda, and I still have it somewhere.
Nice.
And then I went to all of the Pokemon launch events, the major ones. Up until they stopped after XY because people were like freezing because the last one they actually did like a real launch party like midnight, and they actually had like a real event, and that was press at that time, and that was shortly before I got really sick, and I was in the press box all night, and I was just watching around, and they had all the stuff on stage, and then about 3 minutes to midnight, the Nintendo representative comes up, and she has Junichi Masuda on iPad, so we got to say hi to him because he was watching the midnight launch in New York in Nintendo World, and then he was watching the countdown as it went to 0. He was in Game Freak office in Tokyo. And we were just watching together, and it's like, hey, it's like hello, it's just like saying hi to everybody, just holding up the iPad.
So cool.
It's crazy how much shit your life changed just from this one fucking television.
Yeah, like from like this one thing, like 2004. Back at that time, I was thinking, okay, I'm gonna get into this thing. And it's like, okay, it's going to last a few years, like a couple of years. It's been almost 15 years, and I'm still not done yet.
I never expected. I never sat there and counted.
It's because of Pokemon. It's because of Pokemon I've been able to go all places around the world. I've been to freaking all around the U.S., all around Canada. I've been to freaking Japan 3 times now. Eventually, I'm going to go to Europe, and it's all because I made all these friends. And like my best friend now lives in Edmonton, Alberta. And it's like I never would have met him. I never would have met him. He's like my brother from another mother. Never would have met him without Pokemon. And that's why I have to thank Pokemon for changing my life completely and making me a confident son of a bitch now instead of a freaking low life son of a bitch.
I feel it.
Yeah.
God, my heart.
Actually, can I finish my?
Yeah. Go ahead, Richie. I'm sorry.
I feel the love tonight. Anyways, so
can you feel the love?
So basically,
you did that joke already.
Yeah, like a lot. But so basically, it was the same boat as Terrell in the sense that, I know I sort of mentioned this before, but I wanted to expand on kind of how it was. It was more so of, one day I brought in my DSi around the time of Black and White came out, and that was 8th grade for me. And sometimes I'll get like a few comments here and there, like, "Oh my god, you still play Pokemon?" Once they see what's on the screen. And, sometimes I was just not even saying anything. I would try to say something, but it would end up being a bunch of gibberish because I kind of felt affected by it. Now if anyone does that, it's more so of whatever, dude. But during lunch, though, and this was a day where I was like, shit, some of my friends are doing other things and there's nothing for me to do. Let me go see if I can find people that like Pokemon. Funny enough, I went into a random class because I noticed that there was a whole bunch of them, and when I fought when the teacher came up of that class, I'm like, oh boy, did I do something wrong? And she's like, oh no, this is just a lunch club where anyone can come in, hang out, and just do their homework and eat lunch. Just find some friends. And there were some free people that had like DSIs. I heard one of them say Pokemon. I'm like, maybe go try to interact with these people and see if maybe we can connect. So I'm like, hey, I'm Richie, and they're like, hey, it's Roger, Anthony, and Jan, which was a Canadian name apparently. But so we all liked Pokemon, and I'm like, oh, cool. Yeah, y'all are my friends now because y'all like the same shit as I do. So we were talking about Black and White, and this was around the time that the Zorog movie was going to come out for the dub. So I'm like, hey, come over to my house, let's watch the movie. And funny enough, that was actually one of the few times I've ever had people from school over at my house. And funny enough, the first time was all about Pokemon, so it felt kind of pretty cool. But the other thing too is that I still talk to him throughout the years. Although Jan kind of fell out a little bit, though I still have him on social media. Roger, I still keep in touch with, and he still likes Pokemon. And he was kind of the one that kind of got me a little bit into the competitive scene, because he would always tell me like a whole bunch of stats of what was meta at the time. And I'm like, all this shit sounds interesting. So I started doing Showdown, and that's when I kind of learned like some battle mechanics that I never thought were useful, because I never, quite frankly, I didn't really care about it. But because he taught me how to do it, and and just the way you should implement it, I'm like, it's pretty cool. So, and I guess the last thing to really say then is that basically, once I got to know a bunch of people that like the same stuff as I do, it became more comfortable for me to talk about it. So around the time of high school, which is when I kind of started to, know a bunch of friends that were into Pokemon, and I kind of took part in running a Pokemon page for a little bit on Facebook, but because of a reason I can't really disclose, we broke off. But I still knew like a whole lot of them, so I'm like, hey, yeah, you guys still want to talk? And they're like, yeah, sure. So we created this group. Well, basically like a messaging group on Messenger.
Yeah.
We still talk about Pokemon. We still talk about the anime, all those things. So I feel like if I didn't have that same group, like if those things never happened, I'm pretty sure my social skills, like TSS, probably would have been down the toilet. So
Yeah.
That just goes to show you how much one thing can impact you. So whoever to all the friends out there, because I'm probably going to link this video when it's up on YouTube to them, because I want them to know how much it's mean a lot. And as far as the parenting goes, because I know I kind of ended off with the crack reference, but no, yeah, sometimes they would just question about like how passionate I was whenever I would just buy cards. Eventually, I fell off buying cards, and whenever sometimes I'll ask them, hey, I'm going to go buy the new Pokemon game. They're like, they're still, and sometimes I'll get like, they're still making games.
Oh,
I'm like,
God, I've heard that.
And I'm like,
yeah, I've heard that too.
I'm like,
yeah.
They're still
Even for my circle of friends,
Are they still making episodes? I've heard that too.
Yeah, even for my circle of friends, they didn't know.
The funny thing is too is that just to finish that off, because I was going to mention my little cousin, then I'll just finish up my piece. Is that actually I'll mention the cousin because I don't remember the other thing. But so my little cousin got into Pokemon. I think around the time of XY, and the reason why I kind of knew this was because I came over one day. I heard Pokemon, but I wasn't sure what series it was. So I went inside, and funny enough, it was actually Kanto. And I'm like, wow, a kid that's born within like the last 5 or 6 years is actually getting into this stuff.
Yeah, you got Netflix
crazy.
now, I believe. Kanto, the whole Indigo Plateau series is on Netflix.
Yeah, but you wouldn't think a child would start with Kanto.
It was through Netflix after all, but I just didn't think that my bigger cousin would actually go that far, because I thought, she'll probably just show him like XY or some shit like that. But no, I mean XY was kind of shown, but that's besides the point. So,
Yeah.
and I noticed that he had like these toys. I'm like, wow, I didn't think anyone else but me in this family actually likes this franchise. But no, yeah, I did get a lot of those people, or people I meant family, where sometimes I'll say, hey, I got the newest Pokemon game, or whenever I ask my folks, I'm like, hey, I'm gonna get this. I'm like, they're still making that. And I'm like, yeah, and they're just like, okay.
Also,
so
go ahead.
no. But basically, what I wanted to end off is basically the same like I did last time, but except it did. Pokemon is definitely probably the most impactful franchise in my lifetime. So, as I said like a few minutes ago, if that didn't happen, then my social skills probably would have been down the shitter, and a lot of things probably would have not been the way that they are. So, you learn some highs and lows, but you know what? I say in terms of Pokemon, it was worth it.
I was gonna say, I love how Pokemon becomes a trigger word the more you get into the franchise. That like, no matter what the conversation is going on around you, if you hear the word Pokemon, you're like immediately like, huh?
Fixated into the conversation. You gotta
Like the exclamation mark comes up above your head, like on the trainer battles in the game.
Yeah.
I think I don't know. I don't know if you want Terrell, if you wanted to like.
What?
Well, I know that we're getting into. Well, it doesn't matter to me how long the video is, but anyway, what if you ask like what draws us mostly to the? Because everyone's listening to us saying we love it so much, but it's like what do you like about it? Because personally, for me, I feel like I fell in love with the anime just like for so many different reasons. Obviously, for the music and for the humor, but also because I just feel like some of the characters like. I know it's weird to say this as like a human and almost 24-year-old, but like I feel like they're my friends. I feel like
you
I'm
can
really
reflect yourself on them.
I'm like invested in their stories. I'm invested in what happens in the future, especially the characters who aren't on the show anymore. The obscure rivals, the recurring.
Yeah.
Well,
You're also talking. I'm gonna say you're also talking about like me and TSS, where TSS is like 30 and I'm like pretty close to 30.
Oh yeah.
Like
well,
we're past the weird part of it. It's just like at this point, it's just kind of.
You have to remember those days. Back in those days, it was a very interesting time because just a few years before Pokemon came out, this is where you started to have the Japanese stuff coming in.
Yeah.
Like the first
The
dub.
most anime we were getting was Astro Boy.
No, actually, the funny thing is
I knew he was
actually
going to correct you.
No, there was actually
Right.
when Cartoon Network first started, they ran Speed Racer.
Yeah, they did.
A shit ton a lot.
He did.
But that wasn't the real mainstream one. I would say the first one happened in like September '95 with Sailor Moon. When Sailor Moon first came on, that was a lot of people's first taste of real anime.
Yeah.
Well, even though it was a Deke dub, and the Deke dub was pretty bad, and that's how.
But it was still it's still Sailor Moon.
I mean that's how come like I was just randomly watching it one day when I was 7, and I was like, wait a minute, the lips movement doesn't match the voice. And I was like, what? And it's like I was fixated to that, and that was like the first time I ever noticed that because it must have been a bad edit because Deke is fond of
Deke
bad
is
edits.
Deke.
Yes.
That's what
But the thing is though, so we had that. Then Dragon Ball Z came out, or they had regular Dragon Ball and Dragon Ball Z around 1996 on Cartoon Network. That's when it first started. They aired out in a block with another show, Reboot, which was a Canadian 3D animated thing, and it was really cool. You should check it out if you don't know about it.
I do remember Reboot. That's crazy. Wow.
Yeah, Reboot is awesome. Reboot was originally on ABC.
God, that dates me, man. I feel like I just went back in time.
Enzo!
Jesus.
Warning, incoming game.
Anyway,
so we continue on. So we continue on. So we continue on, and then Pokemon comes out, and it was like the first show first Japanese show that felt relatable because it wasn't Deke dubbing it. It was a different kind of dub. It was more coherent and more hip, I guess.
Well,
it made sense.
4Kids changed some things, but 4Kids at least kept it understandable.
Yes,
and we didn't lose everything in translation where we would in certain other dubs.
Well,
we lost some
we look
things.
back on.
We lost some things though.
We lost a lot of things, but then again, though, people that are like fucking 8 or 10 years old, they don't realize
It's
shit.
up with
It's entertaining. It's like, oh my god, everybody's playing Pokemon. Oh my god, everybody's playing Pokemon. I gotta buy the fucking cards. Get me out the fucking software, etc. Buy me fucking 9 packs right now.
I was gonna say for like how Dragon Ball Z fans get agitated because they changed the OST. Funimation changed the
the fucking
OST.
guitars and shit.
To be fair, 4Kids did the same thing with a lot of the Pokemon tracks, but at the same time, American fans, we love the shit out of some of those American tracks.
Not
Dude,
TPC.
the first movie's perfect example of that.
Yeah, like you can't. To me, it's just as part of my nostalgia, even if it's not the original Japanese.
To me, I think like the Tears of Life still holds on till this day.
Oh, that hurts. Yeah, that hurts. Polly, no.
I knew it was coming.
I like the sky.
No.
What's the one with the sky?
My heart can't take it.
At the end, very end when they're watching.
I mean, think about it this way. I mean, Pokemon was so fucking big. You have Weird Al Yankovic on the fucking track.
That was kind of weird.
Everybody Pokemon.
Hence the real there.
Jeez, like, and see, ironically enough, that means
The first two movies were like gangbusters. I think.
Well, it was cool. It was also cool because it's like the American fans have.
It was normal.
Have our own variation of the same franchise because of the Americanization that was done to it to some degree.
And it was like everywhere mainstream. Like I said, you go and see Pokemon knockoff shit at fucking Chinese 99-cent stores and discount stores and shit. That's how you know. And the funny thing is, I have some fucking when you have discount fake Pokemon stickers where fucking Poliwhirl is fucking like dark purple.
I've seen that actually. I've seen
fucking
that.
colors.
Yeah, me too.
I have seen those.
And the funny thing is, those are made in like 1999, and then my mom finds it like 5 years ago in the random back of a fucking 99-cent store owned by some Chinese people, probably sitting in a fucking box for like
TSS
fucking 15 years.
No, not really. I thought that was well known.
All I was gonna mention is that like because of 4Kids, and that's part of the reason why I can never say I hate that company, even though they did some stupid edits to the show. They're the reason why I was able to watch that show, and they're the reason why. And there's a reason why a lot of us can quote almost every opening from the early seasons because it's.
I will say that's why I actually like the Johto series. I mean, this is getting into like why with the anime and
Go
the
ahead.
different generations, but I like there's a specific era of the Johto series. It's actually still my favorite season out of all like 22 of them. It's season 4, and even it was like that time between because I feel like season 1. The dub was still getting on its like first legs, where they were still like in some cases changing out the voices, or Veronica was still kind of getting Ash's voice on its first legs.
I still find it funny though that Veronica had made Ash a lower voice, even though Rika's voice is lower because she's a.
To all the Pokemon in the world.
Because Veronica's voice is like a. I don't know, an alto. No, it's like a soprano, like a mezzo soprano voice.
It's got higher sense. It's got higher sense.
So in that time,
Ash was just like, enjoy your last minutes of freedom, Pidgey, because you're mine.
In the time that it got higher, I'd say around Orange Islands to probably like the end of Johto is what I like the most because I feel like the dub. The voice actors were very comfortable with each other, comfortable in their roles, and it was just like the dialogue, like some of those Johto episodes. I know Johto gets a lot of shit for having so much filler, but like some of them are just so funny. Like some of the stuff that comes out of like Team Rocket's mouths is just so hilarious. Like even like adult jokes that that would slip past like kids' heads. Like I get such a kick out of it, and I think that's like the first thing that really got me started on the series.
I remember the first. No, you're fine, Polly. I remember the first genuine adult laugh I feel like I had was when I went back to watch some of the older episodes. It was when Jesse, James, and Meowth were in Mount Moon, and Ash and them go,
So
Yeah, they go, Team Rocket, what are you doing here? Jesse goes, we have to fill half an hour. And I'm just like, that was just a generally funny moment.
Cartoons never gave me a nose.
the one that kind of got me, and this kind of it's kind of a little bit embarrassing. I'm not sure, and I'm sure this one everyone should remember, but and I forgot the exact episode number, but I do remember what happens. It was the Pokemon School of the first season. If anyone remembers that.
Yes, because there's
Episode 9.
Polly one.
Yes, that one. Anyways,
The episode called School of Hard Knocks.
School of Hard Knocks.
I love that.
School of Hard Knocks. All right, so it was that
I
episode.
love that.
It was an
Polly.
episode.
I love it.
Actually, no, I just got it wrong. It's School of Hard Knocks. Not the one I was thinking of. Never mind.
Oh.
Continue.
There's a lot
So,
of school episodes, folks.
Yeah, there's a whole season dedicated to that. But anyways, so
Wow.
basically, it was the kid that explains who
Trash.
the girl was, and you know he shows her the picture.
Oh,
or
the burn.
He shows
Giselle.
Giselle. Yeah, they
She
show a
can
picture.
violate my rights.
That was the joke. I looked back to it. I watched it, and I was like, wow, they let this through.
Yeah,
Because there's no way in hell. There is no way in hell.
And the crazy thing is, this is syndicated television, which has
Yeah,
even more
no, 'cause my point-
restrictions.
Because my point is that there is no way. If it was today, that shit would not fly.
The Maiden's Peak was a beautiful young woman, not some scrawny little girl, real scrawny, like just stuff like that.
That shit was so hilarious. Oh my
Like,
God.
yeah.
I mean, the original,
I think
the
that was
original
a-
dialogue for that was even more sinister.
I was saying, yeah, I think there was just an era where, like, I love where, but Polly, I believe you saw me respond to one of your tweets before about this, where in this Pokemon season, they could just make fun of each other. Like, they could spite each other. They act like friends because they were giving each other shit while at the same time still generally caring about each other. So we got a lot of voice actors with a lot to work with. Veronica Taylor had a C to work with because Ash is a very upstanding kid, but he's still a jackass. Like,
Yeah.
so it still gave him it gave her something to work with in terms of voice acting, and I believe that was a great era in Pokemon in terms of like just entertainment value.
Are we also walking
Because
around
it
calling
wasn't.
10-year-olds jackasses though, dead ass though?
I mean, them calling
He
each
was
other
a
like idiots.
jackass.
who-
Okay, the dude dies because a chandelier. Not chandelier. I'm sorry, a chandelier.
God damn
The
it.
dude dies
Where's your
because
head
a
at,
chandelier.
sir?
Right.
Where's your
The dude
head
dies
at?
because a chandelier falls on him. He turns into a ghost, and what's the first thing he does? Decides to pick up Misty, traumatizing her in the air. I think that qualifies as jackass.
It's pretty funny though.
Hi,
It is
I'm
fun.
Ash Ketchum. Welcome to Jackass.
I want actually just speaking
Right.
of that, real quick, I want to since we're on the nostalgia trip, I want to throw this out here. Favorite Gen 1 episode. This is one time I'm gonna approve of Gen 1ing. I'm gonna say mine's is probably the one that got me the closest to cry, which is the one where I believe Ash gets stuck on the snowy mountain by himself.
No way out.
Yeah, and he ends up having to like huddle against all of his Pokemon for warmth. And I think originally he tries to get them all to go back in the ball, and Pikachu won't go back in the ball
Yeah.
because he doesn't want them to freeze to death. That was probably one of the few times an episode hit me so hard emotionally that I didn't know how to process it. Like, I remember just watching that and being like, get back in the ball, Pikachu, please. Get back in the ball. And he wouldn't get back in the ball. And I'm just sitting there like, please. My mom's like, shut up. And I'm like, fuck. Pikachu won't get back in the ball.
Please, shut up.
She's just like, shut your ass up.
Terrell, it's 2 a.m. in the morning.
Boy, I wouldn't do it anymore.
That's Pokemon, girl.
Oh, Lord. But yeah, like, if anyone has, like, their just a favorite, it doesn't have to be the favorite.
I'll go after the next one.
Just throw it. Just anyone who wants to talk about one of their favorite Gen 1 episodes.
I'm going through the list.
I'll go.
Okay, go ahead.
TSS. I feel like you and I have the same one.
Really?
There's a lot of
Electric.
episodes.
What is it? Electric Shock Showdown.
Actually, you're wrong.
Oh,
Oh,
snaps.
Lord.
Well, I remember. I know that you liked the Raichu episode, so I referenced
Right.
from
Raichu
that.
episode is
That-
good, though.
Right? That's
Yeah.
that's my second favorite. My
Oh, okay.
first, my first favorite is Porygon.
Wait, but that
Oh.
episode didn't happen in America.
That's
But
a very TSS.
We never got to see it.
it traumatized so many kids.
Did you ever?
Yes, but that's not the reason why I like it.
Why do you like it?
The reason why I like it is it's the only
Technology.
Pokemon episode. It's the only Pokemon episode that involves computers.
I knew
That's
it.
the main focus.
Yeah, they did go inside
That's
the
my
computer.
favorite- Yes, and that's my favorite episode of all time.
It's called Electric Soldier Porygon, I believe, right?
Electric Warrior, Electric Soldier, whatever you want to call it. Deno Senshi Porygon, and it's like and just like that, and Akihabara Hakase. It's like, yeah.
If we're talking hilarity, I feel like the Ghost of Maiden's Peak is always the episode I wind up going back to for some
The
reason.
Sabrina
I think it's
episode's
really,
also
it's really funny to me.
Pokemon actually
It's a
has pretty
filler.
Really?
Pokemon has pretty good, decent horror episodes, personally.
Go ahead, Polly.
Yeah.
For humor, well, here's the thing. I'm kind of a jerk. Whereas, like, the first season, like, isn't my favorite. Like, it's like, yeah, it's iconic and stuff. It's just like I can't really say I have like, oh, like my favorite episode absolutely is like in season. Like, I just have.
That's
like,
why I just said pick one.
General. Okay.
I knew you didn't have
For
a favorite.
for the one that actually got me the most when I first started watching was Island of the Giant Pokemon. That one is so
Yes.
funny.
It's also
That's
That one is
one of my
that one is
favorites.
funny.
It's one
Yeah,
of
it's
the
funny.
weird- it's one of the
They're
weird
like at a
ones.
Yo,
bar.
brother. When Squirtle is like, and then Squirtle's like, maybe they got eaten. And he has
Yeah,
the
but you know what?
shark
But
teeth.
you know what? The only
Dark
issue with
teeth.
that, they used fucking Comic Sans.
No!
Yeah.
Damn it!
Another
I do
favorite.
think that's an interesting episode to see the Pokemon actually talking though. It's just like
Yeah.
Well, talking
and they're
in
at
the
like a
context
bar.
of this.
Aren't they like at a bar at one point?
Yeah, they get drunk, and it's like,
Yeah.
just get that in there.
Another favorite is it delves into obviously into James' story, and then there's that beautiful shot at the end where Jesse runs up and
Oh, you mean you mean the one about his backstory and the Growlithe
Yeah.
and everything?
yeah, Jezebel girl, yeah.
Oh my goodness!
48.
And then Jesse thinks he's gonna stay or whatever,
Yeah.
and then they decide they kind of like reseal their partnership and shake hands, and then she runs up on the hot air balloon, and I don't know, being a whole Team Rocket person, I love that.
You know what-
I also like the breeding center secret.
The
That
what?
Breeding
Breeding
Center
center
Secret.
secret. It's
we talk
Butch and
about that?
Cassie's debut episode.
Oh,
Can we
that's
talk
what
about-
it is. I knew I recognized the name.
Real fast, can we talk about the Jezebel episode for a second? Just only because
Yes.
like Jezebel was in this like tamer's outfit with the whip and some
Oh.
That's a-
some
yo,
beads.
yo,
BDSM,
listen.
Yeah.
That's how people got
You
into
son of
that.
a
That's
bitch.
how people found out they had a fetish, yo. That's how they found it out.
I feel like this episode can't exist nowadays.
Yeah.
It probably can't.
No one can. That shit will get banned.
It's like
You
Yeah,
don't see
it-
it
like
properly.
somebody loves to be tied to the bed.
You're not running away properly.
Oh my goodness. Jesus Christ. I will say one of my other ones I like is the episode in which he catches Primate. And
Yes.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah.
Oh, did
I
you
do
hear the
remember
whole
that
process
episode.
of the hat?
Yeah,
About the hat.
because first is a manky, and he fucking and Ash is like, I'm gonna catch it, and he beats the shit out of him and steals his hat, and he runs off with his hat, and then he comes back and he
You know
beats him up, and then he evolves, and he's like, yeah, and he's like, oh no, and he,
For me, another one is Poke Showdown.
well, I figured we already touched on that one since that's
Well,
Oh, the ninja one or the
Actually,
No,
what-
no.
actually-
no,
no.
that's the Raichu.
the Great Pokemon Race. I'm sorry.
Oh, that's what
Actually,
you meant to say.
yeah.
Oh, that one's good because doesn't Ash rides the Rapidash, doesn't he?
Yeah, Ponyta.
Well, he
Rapidash.
evolves at the end. I'm sorry.
yeah with the
Yes.
bad the southern
Freaking
accent.
Pikachu. Freaking Pikachu's riding Squirtle.
That's gangster as shit, though. I wish.
Thug life,
I
motherfucker.
also
By the way,
No.
Squirtle had comment-
You gotta feel about the guy that was riding on top of fucking Electrode.
That is funny as fuck.
I like how Onyx and Brock make it to the lake and they just give up because
I mean,
they
what,
can't continue anymore.
what would you do? What would you do?
Right.
You
They
can't
just
do
sort of
shit.
stop. Yeah, they can't do
Right,
shit.
Rhyhorn just fucking goes on top of that shit, jumps on top of shit, and just
By the
bites
way,
the fucking
I remember.
Which is
to
so
the fucking
brutal.
ground.
By the way, I remember that the whole rock Pokemon not being like a fan of water thing. I used to think that would kill them. Like dead ass. I used to think like if a Rhyhorn fell into a lake, that's death. And so I used to get super anxiety when I like see them near like a large body of water, and then they showed a surfing Rhydon, and I was like, the fuck are we doing? I think we've lost now. All right, fine. But
Well,
basically.
they had to save money because of the fucking Japanese animation crime. The fucking
to be
crisis.
fair,
Aw, man.
Gen 1 was pretty consistently animated, all things considered.
Well, actually, it didn't get bad until like Johto, because the early 2000s is when they kind of Japan actually had no money.
Yeah, so there
That's
were
why
some-
why the majority of Johto looks like shit.
I thought
Well,
it was
yeah,
because they
'cause-
transitioned to.
Yeah.
No, I think I heard like I think they had to port it out to South Korea or something because Japan didn't have money to fucking animate it.
That doesn't surprise me.
Yikes.
Yeah, because you notice because Johto looks good for about 10 episodes and then the quality falls to shit.
Yeah, going back to watch that Ash versus Gary episode, I realized, holy shit, that episode
Yeah, and it
was
didn't recover
nothing
until
but slideshows.
yeah, and it didn't recover until like 263, the Larvitar, Eurostar Larvitar episode where freaking they went to digital paint.
Yeah,
That's when Casey came back.
yeah, the quality changed quite a bit there.
So Casey,
Yeah,
Oh
because
yeah, in
they
season
made
5. See,
digital
I didn't
paint.
like how Leia looked in season 5.
She was like the Electrabuzz baseball girl, right? Casey?
Yeah,
yeah,
Nanako, yeah.
She had a crush on Ash, didn't she?
No,
Yeah,
she
no,
was just
No,
she was just
she
one
was,
of Ash.
she was
Well,
like.
then if you watch the Chronicles or the Hoso, you see that she actually finds a friend who had a crush on Misty, the guy, and then she took him to a baseball game. But anyway, I'm getting into
I do remember that.
my
Actually. I
secret
remember
favorite
that.
season.
This-
I also
Nanako
Yeah.
no Tonlezadon.
What were you gonna say, Paul?
I also like Pokemon Fashion Flash. I guess I can't get away with not mentioning that one because that's literally like
No, you can't.
one of my favorite. Like when Brock meets Susie, the Pokemon breeder, and she gives him her Vulpix, and he takes care of it for like 3 seasons.
And then he barely fucking uses it. My God.
Yep.
And the giving back of the Vulpix
Blaze,
didn't
man,
really
huh?
feel that
I don't
satisfying.
want to hear about
Yeah.
that part. We don't talk about that, all right?
Nah.
Can I
Jeez.
talk
one of my
about
favorite
go on.
No, it's still one of my favorite episodes that gives it back. But anyway, every Brock episode is like my favorite.
Yeah,
so,
I think you just like
Yeah.
episodes where his face is on the screen for a long amount.
yeah, pretty
So
much.
that means you're gonna love the new movie, man.
What were you gonna say, KG?
Oh, I was gonna say, speaking about Brock-centered episodes, there is one episode that I really grew attached to. Honestly, I don't know why I remembered this so fondly, but it's not the original Kanto
We call
series,
it
but it's
Takeover.
still based on OS for Japan, at least. That's what they go with.
Mhm.
It's called Just Waiting on a Friend, which
Yes.
is based on the Ninetales.
Oh yeah, that
And,
was
Love that
dark.
one.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
how the Ninetales was stuck in the mansion for like 200
Anything
years, and the
Bro-
reason
and
why
she
it tried to get Brock was because it kind of had a
reminder
similar...
of her previous master.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and I love that ending so much when the Pokeball shattered and Ninetales was finally released and was able to finally, go off out of the mansion and do whatever it wants to do now that it's a wild Pokemon again. That episode, for some reason, connected with me. I don't know what it was. I think this might be my favorite episode from the original series.
Wow.
Just because of the emotion
Good
that
taste.
comes from.
Also, for some reason, I think the original series is really good about its horror episodes.
Yeah,
Okay.
they have when they have good episodes, they're good. They're like really, really fantastic.
I will say
Sometimes-
one of my other favorite ones, which I believe is in Orange Islands, which I think Polly might enjoy, is the episode in which Ash and Tracy get sick.
Oh yeah.
And if I remember
Oh,
correctly,
gee, I wonder why.
and I believe this is the episode she catches Poliwag, right?
Yeah.
Oh, my goodness.
Also,
Poliwag gets the Salveo weed, which
yeah,
heals Ash and
yeah, and
Bonus
like,
points, Polly, because I had no idea what that was called.
yeah. I'm surprised
Nope.
you remember the name of the weed.
The name of the
Well,
weed, yeah.
Going off of
Yeah.
that,
Grab weed
I-
every day.
I guess I can't get away with referencing the episode about Poliwhirl when it's actually a Poliwhirl, where it's the fishing battle between the
I know.
Asshole guy.
I had somebody cap that episode in French, and I tell you, Polyrath in French sounds like a fat Frenchman wants to kill you.
Correct me if I'm wrong, Polly. That's don't touch that dial, right?
No.
No.
Oh, I thought it was
Oh,
when Ash.
don't in the tone. No, it's not really.
Don't touch
It's
that dial
not
was like
in,
160 something.
Don't touch that dial was the
Poly-
first episode of the JoJo's. The one you're
Oh,
talking
it's
about,
120,
the
yeah.
Totodile Duel, the one where Ash and Misty both go head to head to
Fight
try against
for
Totodile.
That was the
Totodile.
160.
That is
yeah.
the one that Wag evolves into Poliwhirl. The one
Yeah.
that I'm talking about, though, is the one where it's a filler where Misty enters a fishing competition
Yeah.
to catch
Like
sea
I think
king.
it's like 211.
And
Oh,
that's
Hook,
when
Line, and Stinker was
her
it called?
Hook, Line, and Stinker, yeah. It's when and Poliwhirl basically like goes up
I'm gonna
against.
upload that clip in French just for you.
Yes, oh, please. Okay.
I'm late too for my.
And I just love a lesson learned where you don't have to be all be strong, and like that's like my whole mantra, I guess. And like the OK instrumental plays in the background when it finally beats the Poliwrath. I'm like, that's why I love OK so much. And like, because a lot of like when I like think about the music, a lot of like my favorites come from like happy memories I have within the anime, I guess. And then there are some songs where I just like it because I like it.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Yeah.
rambling now.
Oh, it's fine.
We encourage that.
I love that bit from the episode where like the Pokemon came out to support Poliwhirl in that battle with Poliwrath.
Yeah. Your
It
friends
was
are
so-
counting on you.
Yeah, it's just like, oh my god, the power of friendship prevails, and it
And
just
then
Seems to always be a
just
running
cries, like whirl.
Oh my goodness.
No, like we told you, when they're good episodes,
Oh,
they're
no, they are.
really good to where
I mean,
Yeah.
they just
this is why I
stick
wanted
you.
to. This is why I wanted to talk about give the anime its own little section, because I knew for all of us it seems like the anime was kind of the starting point. Even if some of us eventually got into the games either more or around the same amount, the anime was primarily the gateway for a lot of people. Like that's just how you started.
The gateway drug.
Exactly. So it's important to give it props.
Right.
And Gen 1, even with all of its fucking problems with the gyms and shit in the league, still love that series. I can't.
I mean, it kind of makes sense. It's
the first season. I can't give it too much shit.
yeah, you can't. I mean, yeah.
I mean, it has charm. Like that's one of the things that I feel like the OG series will always have to me is charm. The fact that I can just quote each a lot of the moments in it, just even the stupid ones where Ash catches a Caterpie. This battle's way too dramatic for a one catch Caterpie. But the minute Misty's like, I think I heard a noise. What could it be? And Ash is like, it was a Caterpie. And I'm just like, oh.
To be fair, when we first found out about Misty's bug fears, that was probably the funniest shit in the world. Because the Caterpie got depressed about it because she was such an asshole about it.
There was some moments too that just raised your eyebrow. Like you remember that moment where Brock tried to kill Pikachu unless Ash forfeits the match.
He's strangling it.
Okay, going back to that really quick. The original Japanese joke for that Caterpie thing was, bug in Japanese is mushi. So Satoshi dresses up as a cow, and cow is ushi. So ushi, mushi.
So they just sort of lucked out there. Then I guess.
Well, I mean, that's how most of the puns go.
Yeah, they have to kind of adapt to it.
Yeah, because looking back at School of Hard Knocks, before they make it to the school, there's a lot of Japanese jokes that do not translate into America.
You have to do. I mean, that's the struggle of trying to adapt an anime into English.
And especially Blaine's episode where he gives them the riddles and they have to figure the riddles out.
Oh, that shit was weird.
Yeah, because they can't translate well. So it's just like Ash is talking about an electric blanket and a refrigerator. You're hot and cold. And it just was weird. It was so odd.
They call that freezer burn. Nah, I'm just.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
No, that's it. That was pretty much what I was going to say. Is that it just has charm.
All right. I think we've been recording for like almost 2.5 hours at this point.
Sounds about right.
So we're gonna wrap this up, but we're gonna wrap this up with some cheese. There's gonna be a lot of cheese. I don't know if anyone's gonna cry, but there's gonna be some cheese.
Okay.
The way I want to wrap this up is
du fromage.
No, shut up. I made the joke a little while ago. Fuck you, TSS. You're not funny. No,
back to more game.
I would say you bastard. Well, I was gonna say the way we wrap this up is if if we could say something to I would say the creators of, I guess Game Freak, the creators of the franchise in general.
So Nintendo.
What would we? Well, I guess technically, yeah, kind of. What would you say to them about how this franchise they created and how much has impacted your life? This is some cheesy shit. I'm gonna tell you right
No, I got something I want to say.
now. Go, KG. You haven't heard you talk all night.
Yeah,
God damn it.
yeah,
No, because you guys had some very interesting stories. I couldn't just interrupt you guys when you guys were having, a blast, just sharing your thoughts.
We
and
weren't
whatnot.
blasting off again.
that's your job to do to me.
It sounds like a cop out, so he could keep playing Dragalia off.
No, I ran out of stamina, so I can't really play anything.
I like how
right now.
that's the reason. I like how that's the reason. I love how that's the reason he's like, I can't play anymore right now.
Yeah, I
KG,
can't,
go.
man. Okay. My thing to this whole situation or good, moment is that I really am happy that Pokemon became a thing because for me, while it was fun, obviously collecting cards and all that, I think the most wonderful experience I got out of this was finding something that I was able to connect with my mother. We both share something in common, and because of that, we're both able to grow a much better bond if we didn't really have anything. Because I'm a really shy kind of person when out of recording and whatnot. So it just made me happy to know that I was able to connect with my mother in some way, shape, or form, and to find out that it was Pokemon of all things is absolutely incredible. And I hope that to those who are parents who end up watching this kind of stuff, if they do, first of all, if you have a child, I think it's always important to make sure to find a way to connect with them because you'll be able to get a better bond with your kids and have a nice, memorable future growing up with one another. And I was blessed enough to know that my mother was like that. She was able to be with me, buy me the games when they come out. We play together via like the good old link cables, or even if it's not Pokemon, we would be playing a Nintendo 64 with Stadium because of just how much we love the series and or just the games in general. So I thank Nintendo and especially Game Freak for putting out a series that made me connect with my family and specifically my mother in a way that I'm confident I wouldn't be able to do today. So, and that's my little cheese take per se.
Does anyone else want to give their messages to Game Freak and Nintendo or
Yeah.
who's next?
Go for it,
Who
TSS.
will be next?
Okay. First of all, I would like to thank Mr. Satoshi Tajiri for creating this beautiful series. Without him, my best friend is actually on the autism spectrum. So knowing that
Hey.
Satoshi Tajiri is also on the spectrum, and for the people who do think that he doesn't, he isn't, watch a fucking 2004 interview. I was able to count 10 different mannerisms for an autistic person in 35 seconds of footage. Okay, so shut up.
So I'm
And
not alone.
I want to say, and I
Yay.
also want to say that thanks to Ken Sugimori for the wonderful designs as well, and also Nintendo for bringing this to light. Game Freak is a second party developer, and you guys, without you guys, my life would have not turned out the way that it has. I would have never made this many friends. I would never be right here, right now, talking. And I just don't know what the hell I'd be doing in my life. I'd probably be one of those people that are probably locked up in the basement for 75 hours a week, doing absolutely nothing, and maybe freebasing on some random garbage. You kept me clean. You kept me with having hope, and you made a product that was truly for everybody, a true family product that wasn't created for encouraging violence. It brought people together. It was having fun. It was going out to the events and interacting with everybody that had a similar interest. And to know that it was huge back in 98, 99, 2000, you have millions upon millions of fans that want to interact with each other, and they just make quality games and memorable games. And it's kind of like the book. It makes like mental bookmarks in your life. And just to think about, you go back to the good old days and, makes you reminisce and then pass it down to your family and friends later on. And so for that, I'd like to thank Once again, I'd like to thank Ken Sugimori, Satoshi Tajiri, the late Satoru Iwata, because without him, we wouldn't have had the fucking gold and silver games, because he created the fucking compression algorithm that helped put fucking Kanto on the cart. And thanks to all the animators and the producers right now of the Pokemon anime, including like Masaki Iwane and all the directors for producing such a great series. Thank you, TV Tokyo. And please bring us fucking dual audio.
Relax.
Sometime. Generation 8.
I agree.
We will pay you money.
I agree. Don't ruin the emotional moment. Relax.
Thank you.
I agree.
Come on, man.
Hey, you got it. This is a plea. This is a plea.
Oh
but
no,
just-
I agree. I agree.
But
We
thank
need dual
you.
audio. But
I heard
but thank
something
you.
about that with
no, don't give
every
false hope.
story.
That calls all-
No false hopes allowed.
I want to just bring up something that caught my attention.
I
Thank
knew
you.
he was gonna do this.
Everyone's story. Did you hear about that whole reasoning behind why the OST remained intact?
Didn't
Yes.
John say it the other night?
Yeah, I believe it was because the dude was
I
on
didn't even hear it
vacation.
It's fakes more, boy.
Apparently, Goldfarb was on vacation, and that's why he didn't create dub OST for
Yeah,
everyone's
that's-
Good.
story.
Stay on vacation.
Yeah, we were. Yeah, I think he. Yeah, we.
Yeah.
Talked, they mentioned that last night when we were doing.
I think we made that joke.
Yeah, it's literally the joke we made. But
Yeah.
who wants to go next?
Thank you, Nintendo.
I don't want to go last because I ramble and like I don't end it on a good note.
All right, I'll take. All right. I'll
Go
take
for it, Richie.
Yeah, I just offer. All right, whatever. Anyways, so obviously, of course, in the same line as TSS, thank you, Mr. Satoshi, Mr. Ken, and of course, Game Freak and Nintendo for being one of the heavy influences when it comes to how Pokemon's had an influence in my life as far as socially and where it's gotten me as far as development wise. I could kind of relate to Mr. Satoshi in the sense that of the spectrum, because not that this is a surprise to anyone else, for those that might know, but for those that don't, as you could probably tell just based off the sentence, I am also on the spectrum, although I'm a little bit at the lower ends of it, so it's not too complicated. But anyways, it's gotten me a lot of friends. It's helped me build up some pretty damn awesome moments. Like the part of going to New York, I only went there because I knew friends for Pokemon that would be there. And I'm like, this will be a good time to expand on that. So I don't really have a whole lot to say because I don't want to prolong it too much, but basically it's helped me a lot as far as life skills, life development. When things were tough, that franchise would always be there as far as like the TV show, the games, talking to folks that knew and loved the franchise just as much as I do. It's been one of the most influential things in my life, and I'm always thankful for it. So thanks, you free.
Okay, Tyrone, me or you next?
Oh wait, I don't want to be last.
What?
But you're the one that said you wanted to be
You wanna go
last.
Because I said I did.
No, she said she didn't want to be the last.
She didn't want to go last.
Oh,
Well,
no,
they-
Polly,
okay,
go,
then-
go,
Okay,
Polly,
okay.
take this one.
Here. I will make the definitive order. It goes Polly, me, then Terrell, since it's his video.
That's fine.
Yeah. Go for it, Polly.
Okay. Wait. Sorry, I was screenshotting a picture of Bakugo.
See?
Wow.
You couldn't help yourself.
Switching fandoms. Yeah, I also want to. I guess also the whole thing with Satoshi Tajiri. Well, originally I thought Poliwhirl was his favorite. It's actually Poliwag, as I did go back to watch that 2004 interview, and all of my hopes and dreams were crushed in that moment.
He still likes the
But-
line.
He still likes the poly line,
No,
though.
but it's not good enough.
Jesus
He has
Christ.
to, like,
They all have swirls.
No.
Jesus Christ.
That's like
But
a
does
person liking
Poliwag
that's
have
like a person
fucking
liking
mittens?
puppies and not dogs.
Yeah, that is kind of weird.
I know it's good.
Okay. Everyone's pretty much said like everything that I feel. I also want to thank Oh, Miyazaki. Not
Oh fuck! I
Yeah.
forgot about
Yeah.
that. Shit. Whatever.
not the
All right.
not the
I love you
Ghibli,
too, Miyazaki.
but the guy who composed music for the anime.
Shinji
Of course, was-
Miyazaki, thank you very
Yeah.
much. Arigatou gozaimasu.
Especially him because I don't know, just I know I always go on and on about me, but it really is something very special to me. I mean, I listen to it every single day on the subway, just taking walks in my room, and I love discovering new tracks, like tracks that I've never like heard before, or never really paid attention to. Um, so that's just been like a really, really big part of my life the past 10 years, like playing piano, just sort of like getting in touch with that part of myself and that my creativity. So I guess I just wanted to thank, like, I have Shinji Miyazaki to thank for that. Of course, Masuda, Satoshi Tajiri. I've had a lot of happy memories and playing the games, watching the anime, making a lot of friends. Just everything that TSS said, basically, about how it just brings people together. It's just such a wholesome series too, and I I just feel like I connect with so many of the characters, on so many different levels. See parts of myself in each of them, whether it's the angry rival or the funny third wheeling character who is lovesick and wants a relationship, or the protagonist who needs to climb over obstacles in his life so that he could reach his dream. Um, well, Ash actually has a dream, but anyway, that got dark. Hello.
No, we were.
We were just
we were trying to give you the
Hello,
quiet.
We're just letting you
hello.
just continue
Is there
on.
We were gonna let you
anybody in
continue. We
there?
weren't gonna.
See, this is why I can't. But yeah, I mean, I will be sticking with the series as long as it's canon and doesn't really diverge too much from the canon storyline, I guess. I will look forward to watching it and, of course, playing the games and making more memories to come. So thank you to all the creators. Yes,
Yay.
the end.
Tyrone.
The end.
Tyrone.
Tyrone went to play some Dragalia Lost.
What's with this game?
No.
It's called an addiction, and someone has fucking problems.
I know, Tyrone. What the hell is wrong with you, man? Don't get into this shit.
It's fine. If Tyrone wants it, Tyrone's over here thinking. I think Tyrone was expecting Polly to take longer. It's fine. I'll go next.
Okay, well, you're best for last. All right, go, Tyrone.
It's fine. It's fine. So I don't want to go through the. I mean, it's obviously thank you to everyone who was involved creating this game and this anime, this series. I just kind of want to say specifically what it did for me. This is one of those series that it's so much of a gateway for everything that I'm into now. I like video games because of Pokemon. I like anime because of Pokemon. It was inspiring. It taught me the kind of the wide spectrum that television shows can have. And although Pokemon isn't my favorite anime, it definitely opened doors. And it allowed me to experience new and different things. There are jokes that I went and researched, and now I understand weeb culture, whether that's a good thing or bad thing. People on Twitter can tell you. I don't fucking know. I never thought I had a lot, and I probably still do have issues with self-confidence a lot. And it to me, it was one of those shows that was like, stand for what you believe in, be proud of what you want to do, and don't have any regrets. Just push forward. You got these fucking 10-year-olds walking out here in the fucking wilderness, fighting everything like nature and animals that are trying to kill them, obviously in a less threatening way because this is a children's show. And it was just great. It allowed me to connect with other people, help me socialize, help me build confidence. It means so goddamn much. I will never be able to properly thank them enough for even making this franchise, because to me it was a life changer. Like I would not be the same person in any, I wouldn't say any capacity, but I definitely would not be close to the same person if it wasn't for this series. And I just want to mention, I guess, to the people out there, luckily nowadays it's easier, but back when the internet was new and everything, people sometimes felt truly alone because you didn't have anyone to connect to, and it was games like this that forced you to go out and connect with people just over the simple act of trading or battling that allowed you to make a connection with somebody, even if it was someone just passing in a glance. In a moment in time, you guys shared a common interest, and it allowed you to have a moment, and a moment that for some people would stick with them for the rest of their lives, like some of my own moments. I truly appreciate everything that they've done and what they would continue to do. And even if I don't necessarily love every new game or every new season of the show that comes out, or even how the game has changed with the trading card game, I'm glad this series exists because it allows people to make those same kind of connections I make. And hopefully they're able to make memories that are just as good or even fucking better, because the world of Pokemon never really truly ends. And thank you for giving me the opportunity as a fucking 8-year-old boy who had nothing to do but hang in his mom's house waiting for something to happen. And thanks. Also, thank you to 4Kids for fucking dubbing it and giving it to us Americans. So, yeah.
America.
Fucking Tyrone.
Tyrone.
Why do you do this?
Well, time to strap him in the back of a fucking.
So
No,
you
KG.
give all these
America.
heartfelt, you piece of
No, you're
shit.
not.
He went to take a leak in his F-150.
No. I had to go with my roommate because of dog, and it's night and people out.
All right, then you guess what? You're last now. Go.
Okay, yeah, I figured that would happen. So, okay, so Pokemon, it really stops, and I really have to stop and think about how much, and just really take in how much Pokemon really means to me, just because it was my entry into not just anime, oddly, but just, nerd culture in general. And I'm glad it took me down the path that it's taken me down, just because I've been able to meet such great friends. And I think your real friends when they're not going to judge you on the things that you do love or are passionate about, and will in fact support you. I always feel like friends should be a building block in the society that is your life. And for those who want to tear you down based on what you care about, then they're not really your friends, are they? So when I see
exactly.
that, so in that era that I was talking about, and I think we all had that except for maybe Richie. I think Richie was indifferent to those who judge him, but everybody else had that era where Pokemon was just like we're ashamed we like it, but we still, obviously, we love it. But everybody else was teasing us about it because we were kids and we were young. It's the friends that still stick with me, the ones that still like that stuff, the ones that still interested, that stay passionate, are the ones that I'm still with today. And I'm glad.
Oh no, I say we're about the same. It's just
Yeah.
obviously.
Yeah, it's those people that guide you and help you.
And maybe just like how we handled it kind of differently, but I don't think it's by that much. But anyways, continue.
But so it's just those who help me, and I owe a definite, like, I'm here today speaking with everyone now, basically thanks to Pokemon. From the day that Terrell made that video about pick your favorite region, and I participated in that, from the day that I reached out to KG and just was like, hey man, you're doing the X and Y reviews as well. Let's get together. Let's talk about this. And my subscription count before that was just a measly like 100, and it was just based on like small things that I did. Now we're looking at like in the 2000s. I'm part of the PokePod every Monday. We did Crystal recordings every Tuesday. We got this large group. I owe so much to Pokemon, even just in the conventions that I was in, where my friends would get together and our theme is that we were dressed as the Eevees. I was Jolteon, my other friends were like different versions of Eeveelution.
Sorry.
Yeah, it's a great. I'll show you the picture later, but it's a great picture. But
Again.
But it's things like this, and it's things that we can really come back to, and at the end of the day, it's what makes us. And I really have to thank the person who collected bugs as the start, Satoshi Tajiri, and just to think, man, that him getting into a simple little hobby like bug collecting has opened up not just a doorway for everybody, a hype train, more than just a fad, almost like a lifestyle, if you will. From however you get into it, the main games, Pokemon Go, the trading card games, hell, the board game because it exists. Um, However you got into Pokemon, which is so many different doorways, I believe each doorway leads to the same spot, and that's to the friendship and unity that Pokemon has brought to all of us. So to that, I say Game Freak, Nintendo, Satoshi, thank you all for not just giving me a franchise to love, but a lifestyle that I will probably stay with even long after I'm departed from this world. So thank you.
Thanks. Well, one more thing I'd like to add, and that is, you know,
And we're here for another 2 minutes.
No. I swear, there's only be 1 minute. For the folks out there, you know, you see me like cry, you know, like completely put down people, and that's because I like to bust the chops of my friends because I've built the confidence because of Pokemon to do that, and I like to do that. I like to do it with my friends. Even I say chops because, you know, not all of us here has balls, so I can't say that.
You could have just said it figuratively. It didn't have to be literally.
Wow.
Well, you know, like I said, I'm a direct person, but I just want to say that
Directly to you.
Choksits. But anyway, I just want to say, you know, that is basically become my, I guess, signature thing. It's like me just being quick-witted, and just being able to just have fun and just unraveled, and you know, and yes, sometimes I say something that I regret about 2 hours after we do these recordings. But in the end of the day, you know, I am not a person who means harm to anybody, and that's what it is. I mean, it's just the attitude that I have. I am not afraid to speak what's on my mind. And I'm sorry if I ever offended anybody.
I don't think no one ever really took it that way.
Not in this group, at least.
I was gonna say.
I was saying, as much as shit Tyrone gets, I think he'd be the best one to be like,
It's because we have fun. It's just
don't sweat the small stuff.
It wouldn't be fun if everybody's opinions were the same, you know?
Exactly.
Nice.
We all have different backgrounds. It's like how me and TSS relate more on the fact that our parents weren't as involved in our love of the franchise, but the fact that you guys also have that very family-oriented experience allows you guys to come from a different place. But guess what? We still met up at the same spot, and that was at the love of this fucking franchise that probably will never end. And I think I'm at peace with that. I think I'm cool with that.
Yeah.
With all that being said, holy shit, it's probably been about, now it feels like it's been probably about
2 hours and a half.
Yeah, it's good.
2.5 hours. We're longer than a movie.
Yeah, we couldn't do it, but it's fine.
So this is a feature documentary. Oh, sweet.
Okay,
yes.
Yeah. So Tyrone.
We could officially call this a Lord of the Rings movie for Pokemon. Cool.
No, we're
nice.
not doing. No, we. Oh God. So who's Gandalf? That's my question.
No, who's Smeagol? We can make Smeagol.
Rich Smeagol. It's great.
It's Richie, damn it.
We're fucking nerds. Leave it alone.
I will fight you on the streets, Richie.
My precious.
See, there you go.
With all that being said, I do truly.
Thank you.
I truly appreciate you guys even humoring me and getting on here and talking for 2.5 hours about this franchise, or just in general. Like this shit always blows me the fuck away. It was like when Tyrone first approached me and was like, "Man, I love your videos," and I was sitting here like a dumbass thinking, "Oh, I was the one who really gave that much of a shit." It means a lot to me that people are willing to sit here and listen to my crazy ass ramble on about a show for this long, or are willing to indulge into the same pastime. But I appreciate it wholeheartedly. So from my heart, I want to thank all of you guys for even coming on here and just talking with me. It means a lot.
Yeah.
I'm so glad we did this earlier, though.
Yeah, me too.
Because like otherwise we would have gone till like 2 a.m.
I know, no, we're not doing that again.
We probably would have.
Yeah.
We're not doing that again. Some of us do have lives, not all of us, but some of us have lives. We distracting to that extent. Anywho,
Unfortunately, I have to stay awake till 2. So.
well, I apologize in advance.
Why?
Yeah.
We apologize for the unavoidable.
He can
delay.
tell us after I stopped the
Unavoidable.
recording.
I didn't know we were still.
Well, yeah. Did you think I stopped recording? I didn't even do an outro,
We
Polly.
didn't do an outro. No.
Take care, everybody. And as always,
Well, all I was gonna
Have
say
an
is,
awesome day.
for those, please put your thoughts and comments in the comment section below. I'm pretty sure all of you guys have your own stories and your own history with this franchise. So let us know in the comments. Make video responses. I know those things are technically dead because the buttons are gone and they've been gone for years, but fuck it, still
they've
put
been
in
gone
some
for
video
years.
response. Just tweet it.
Yeah, I would say, yeah, we have Twitter.
Yeah, just tweet it at me. Or tweet it at one of us will see it. There's like 7 of us
Yeah.
in here. Well,
Yeah.
somebody's gonna fucking see it. Anywho,
Yeah, probably.
thank you guys for watching. Thank you guys for supporting, and thank you guys for playing the game that we all love to play and watch. Or
And win.
no, KG, you're gonna cut me off. Cut me off.
Cali forever.
Pokemon.
Wow.
Best friends.
Did you guys like the
true.
picture? I mean, the song that I picked.
What's
Somewhat obscure on the Johto CD.
Oh Lord.
All right, after
And
the video.
with that, life's a game. Play to win, and I will catch.
Oh, wait, I think.
Bye.
Also,
I'm gonna let you finish, but I'm gonna be the best Polywood of all time. All time.
Gosh. Wait. If you want,
God damn it.
I'm in the middle of this Hunger Games Pokemon thing. Favorite character.
Let him finish the fucking video.
Wait,
right.
I thought he finished.
No, that's the reason
Wait,
why.
what? Oh wow.
Now we're done, folks. See, this is why we can't. This is why you can't
That's
record.
a game. Play to win. Subscribe. Give us money. Thank you.
Yeah, fuck you. We're going-
specifically to PayPal.me.
No, fuck. Hey, don't put out links and shit.
Give Terrell your money.
Later.
His address is.
Link in the
If you
description
watch
down
this
below.
far into the video,
Oh,
you
my
are
goodness.
the greatest subscriber ever. Thank you and good night.
And you're a Pokemon master.
Thank you and good night. Jesus. Now we're done.
Finally back to